Alright, so the Halberd is a weapon that I've tried it a little bit in a couple different contexts. I've grabbed it while trying to get other weapons. I've grabbed it like I was gonna do a run with the Crystal Halberd. Like when I did the Crystal Greatsword only run, or one Crystal Greatsword only run, I was gonna use the Crystal Halberd, but I figured that'd be too easy because you can repair it a bunch and whatever. You can thrust with the Halberd. That's why I don't like the moveset for the Dark Souls 1 Halberd. Hello, Aora. Hello, NB. Hello, Krista. Welcome. And hello, Eth. Yeah, the Dark Souls 1 Halberd itself has a thrusting moveset on the R1s, and that's the main reason I don't like the Halberd, but it's also the main reason... I don't know why I have armor on. I'm going to be going slow. That's the main reason I wanted to do this run, because I don't like the moveset of the Dark Souls 1 Halberd, but... I'm hoping my mind will be changed today, because I know I like the running attack, and I like the R2 being the spin, so we'll see. Hello, Vukushin, welcome. Time to dark the Dark Souls. Good. Not entirely sure what that entails, but hopefully it's just playing Dark Souls, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I was debating between going straight to Sens with Sen Skip, and then using... What the... Why did it untwo-hand? And then using Argus to get through the Iron Golem to just immediately grab the Crystal Halberd. But, I don't know. I kind of wanted to just do a normal playthrough with that. Well, the Halberd in Dark Souls 1 with the thrusting moveset, as far as I know, I don't think it staggers you. But even then, like... The scythe, the great scythe, the Black Knight Halberd, the Gargoyle's Halberd, they do have the stagger, and they're still insanely good weapons. So I don't know. As long as you don't miss, and even if you do, it's not that big of a stagger. That said, the sweet spot in Dark Souls 2 is really precise and hard to get used to. I've been doing a playthrough with that, and I'm still not used to it, and I've just beaten a Chandra, so... I do like the Great Scythe. The Great Scythe is fun, but I vastly prefer the Lifeline Scythe. I don't think I've done a full playthrough with the Great Scythe. And the Tune of the Muppets theme. Ah, okay, I didn't understand the bit, and that's why I don't actually know the Muppets theme at all. Hello, Phalia, welcome. I think that Great Scythe is good just for its, like, range. I think it's 1612 are the requirements, so we should be good to just grab the weapon and start going. Off the bat, though, I do want to go grab the Large Ember, just so I don't have to worry about that later. Yeah, the range on the Great Scythe is really good, on top of the damage on it is really good as well. So it's definitely a very useful weapon if you can make proper use of the moveset. And I think the Great Scythe has bleed, just obviously not as good as the Lifeline Scythe. I don't actually remember if it has bleed, but if it does, I don't know, bleed is useful for a good few scenarios in this game. Even ones where you, like, don't think of it as, like, a top strategy, it can be very helpful against, like, Sif or Smo. Even if it's not, like, the Stray Demon, where you bleed them instantly. I am absolutely gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Hello, Elisra? Alice Israr? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Ornstein and Smog. Indeed. Okay, I think I can meme roll with the... Oh, I didn't grab the heater shield, actually. I don't think I can meme roll. Favorite polearm in-game and IRL is... Okay, actually, in-game, I've kind of gone back and forth. The Scythe, or the Bardiche, I guess, is my favorite in real life. It also used to be my favorite in-game, but I think that goes to the Gargoyle's Halberd, just because it's insane. In terms of... What? Why did it close my menu? I've never seen that. Why did it close my menu? Very strange. Ninja cat fox thingy? Are you talking about Nine Souls? Also, hello, Krista. Hold on, I got this. I can't believe I just died to depth clip of all things. This is shameful. I will preface this stream by saying I'm a little bit more tired than I usually am, but I did have caffeine and we're pushing through because I've been very much looking forward to this stream and I don't think it'll be particularly difficult, so I'm not too worried about my performance being particularly subpar. I've also been playing a lot more Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 than Dark Souls 1 the past couple weeks. I might also not be super used to Dark Souls 1 specifically right now. I'm getting the large ember, so I can upgrade the halberd to +10 immediately. As soon as I grab it. So I don't have to run all the way back here later. I can just get it now. Alright, let's see if I can... Oh my god. Why? I can't do this. I got this, hold on. This is tragic. There it is. No? Okay. What? What am I doing? Okay, I'm pretty sure the warrior with the starting gear gets in meme roll range, but I also don't know how to meme roll, so I don't know the positioning for that, so I don't know if that would be better or worse to try that. If I just like give myself the heater shield real quick, or even like go buy it from the merchant. I think the Mail Undead merchant sells a heater shield. It might be from Andre though, I don't remember. Pardon me. Hold on, I got this. If I don't do it this time, I'm just gonna use DSR Gadget to get in there, because I don't want to be stuck on Depth's Clip forever, but I do want the large ember now. Okay, yeah. Mail Undead merchant. I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it though, to be honest. Can't even do the ladder climb. Meme roll is in Dark Souls Remastered. It's between I want to say 50 and 54% equip load, or is it's 25% to fast roll, so it's 25 and 29% in Dark Souls Remastered. And then in there we go, Prepare to Die edition, it's a very, very precise percentage of your maximum equip load. And then you can roll in the air. You can roll off a ledge, and if you keep spamming the roll button, you'll continue rolling in midair. And if you time it correctly, if you roll at the same moment that you happen to land, you'll actually you'll iframe the fall damage, basically. But you have to position properly and have the right equip load. So... Yeah, but the percentage to actually meme roll is a lot more forgiving in Dark Souls Remastered. I don't know how they did that, how they made it easier to trigger the meme roll glitch in the remaster, but I'm here for it. If I ever decide to use meme roll for a challenge run or whatever, I'll definitely appreciate not having to get a very specific set of equipment just to use a random glitch that'll probably be for one thing in the entire run. As much as people complain about adding or making glitches worse to the remaster, it genuinely could not bother me less. Pardon me. Oh, the FPS? That makes sense, yeah. Why did I faster? No, never mind. See, this is what I mean. I've been playing too much Dark Souls 3. I wondered why I fast rolled through the water. You don't get your rolls don't get slowed down in Dark Souls 1. That's only a Dark Souls 3 thing. Is there deep water in Dark Souls 2? There is in the Shrine of Amana. And your rolls also don't get slowed down there. I mean, it's probably in other places, but that's where I'm remembering it right now. Yeah, isn't it in Prepare to Die, isn't it like 25.8 something or whatever? Hello, Belle, welcome. I don't know. I've never used meme rolling in either version. I've unintentionally done it in Remastered because it's insanely easy to get in Remastered. If you're just like messing around with equipment trying to get into the correct like fast roll weight. Pardon me, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Hello Zephyr, welcome. I'm just gonna run past. All I need is the Ember. I don't have a Homered Bow and I don't need to worry about surviving. Okay, there we go. Hello Lilith, welcome. They're doing this to you at work tomorrow? I'm so sorry. I wish you luck. I don't know exactly what you're referring to by this, but whatever it is. I wish you luck. Okay, now the question is, do I grab the very large Ember on the way down? I don't think I should, just because I want to get the Titanite chunks when I do that. They're gonna backstab loop you. Oh no. That's unfortunate. I don't know, I would say it's fortunate, but I don't think it's time for that in this stream yet. We still got a couple hours, or like an hour at least, to go for that. Wait, 10 whole minutes to do depth clip. This is tragic. I am very much off my game today. Okay, now I just need to not fail this jump. I think if I had failed that jump, that would have been a very bad omen for the rest of the stream. I did win 14 times. That is unfortunate. Did you not parry? I always parry Gwyn because I suck at the Gwyn fight if I don't parry. That's like that's probably the only boss fight in Dark Souls 1. If I don't parry Gwyn, that's like the hardest boss fight for me in Dark Souls 1 because I just haven't ever done it. How was it? I used it, well, when I was getting the thumbnail yesterday, I ended up exploring a little bit because I noticed something that I'm gonna point out when we get up here. And I used it a little bit, and even at +0, it was doing good damage, but the character that I had it on to like take the picture for the thumbnail is also at the strength and dex soft cap. And it is a quality scaling weapon, so it makes sense that it did decent damage even at +0. The main thing for me on the Halberd is just the thrusting moveset on the R1. I don't know, it feels like it will be difficult to get used to because I'm not good at thrusting movesets. That's no, that might be one of the worst jokes that anyone has said in any of my streams. But like in a good way. There's definitely been less funny ones. But I don't think any of them have been quite that bad. Went through your parries. It was probably the terrain, because if you stand in the wrong spot, you can have that happen where Gwyn will just like, wow, that's shockingly good damage actually. Where the weapon will like go over you with some attacks, and if you get unlucky with the attacks that you try to parry, that can happen with all of them. Oh, I suck at parrying the Halberd one, especially in this state. I should not have tried that. The sock cap. Can't put any more. You just gotta get bigger socks. That's the... Gotta get, like, Christmas stockings. They're big. They fit over most socks. They don't stretch, but they're, like, big on their own, right? Oh. But, like, the... You know, the fire ornaments. Hearth ornaments. Two people who have recently played with the Halberd. See, I could do that, but is it really worth the 2,000, 3,000? I don't know, a few thousand souls. Yeah, the Gargoyle Halberd is very, very good. The character that I used for the Unremarkable in Odd Places video had, um, I used duping to get to all the soft caps. So it was 40 strength, 40 dexterity, 50 intelligence, 50 faith. Um, and then I think 40 endurance. I might have went higher so I could wear the brass armors out. Um, but I used the Gargoyle's Halberd for that run, and it shredded everything. No, the Halberd Knight there can't drop a normal Titanite chunk. I think it's a blue Titanite chunk. But the chunk is guaranteed. And that's only from the Black Knight Sword and the Black Knight Greatsword Black Knights. The one in the Parish and the one in the Berg. All the other Black Knights dropped colored chunks. Dang, I need to actually pay attention while parrying Havel today. This isn't normal. Well, the Black Knight weapons have a Great Sword, an Ultra Great Sword, a Halberd, and an Axe. So Straight Sword hasn't been used for a Black Knight weapon. There hasn't been like a Black Knight dagger or whatever. You're racist. You hate colored Titanite. I mean, it's not as useful. I don't know. I think hopefully, once I finish my mod in 16 years, once I decide I'll actually go through and set all the balancing stuff and whatever, that'll hopefully change your tune. Yeah, Black Knight bow. That'd be really cool, actually. Oh, a bunch of different halberd infusions. I would do that if infusions were decent in this game. Unfortunately, they're not super great. A Black Knight fist weapon? You're so right. Why hasn't that been a thing? God, if I knew how to like mod weapons. Unfortunately, I cannot relate to being washed and rusty with any of the games because playing them is kind of my job, but I do understand the sentiment. I've gone, like when I first started playing them, I went like a few months without playing, and I just felt so much worse at the game. Or like I didn't play Dark Souls 2 for a very long time, for a bit there, and also had that same issue. Black Knight Whip. I agree completely. Hello, Piss Face. Welcome. Okay, well then a Black Knight Ultra Greatsword hasn't been used. Because if the Black Knight Sword is a straight sword for them, then the Black Knight Ultra Greatsword is just a great sword for them. There also hasn't been like a hammer or a great hammer or whatever. There we go. That's just the normal whip. I mean, yeah. Normal whip is pretty cool. I kind of hate how hated the whip is, because in this game, in Dark Souls 1, it sucks early game, but that's kind of the point. It just kind of becomes decent by the end of the game, once you have soft caps and upgraded it and everything. Yeah, the Great Sword is also an Ultra Great Sword. And then the Scythe is a Halberd, but it's actually a Bardiche, you know? Dark Souls isn't super great with its like weapon classifications. And we love it for that. Hey, a chunk, that's good. That means I can get a plus 15 before Iron Golem. Jesus. Yeah, poor Havel, giving him IBS. Capra, I feel like Capra is one of those ones where you just have to know what you're doing. I don't know. If you don't know how to deal with Capra, it's really, really difficult. But if you know that you can just grab the wolf ring and win instantly, you know? Or like, even just run up the stairs and make it way easier. What is a CGS? A Black Knight CGS? It's a Guando? I thought it was like a glaive. 'Cause, I mean, they renamed it to Black Knight Glaive in Dark Souls 3, right? Yeah, I think dying to hollows is just like the best part of playing Dark Souls 1 though. Or at least the Dark Souls trilogy. I don't know. I think it's fun. Arch Titanite, that means we only need to buy one from the guy. That's very fortunate, actually. We do need to kill both the giants and Sens, but I'm going to be doing Sen Scout to get the large Titanite anyway. Oh, Curved Greatsword, right. Yeah, Black Knight Curved Greatsword would be very cool. The Wolf Ring is in Darkroot. There is a skip you can do to get it really, really early. Well, not early, but way, way faster. Ordinarily, you have to go all the way down to where you would enter the tower to fight the Moonlight Butterfly. But if you run over here, where there's the demonic foliage on the ground and the other one right here, and this spot where you can see the item through the rock for whatever reason, and you drop down right here, if you're just a little bit careful of the frog ray, you can run straight down, and the Wolf Ring is up a tower over here. Don't get into the polearm classifications? Yeah. That's entirely valid, especially with Dark Souls. Especially Dark Souls 1. They don't even have like a scythe class. They're just in the Halberd class. The Tortalas, yeah. I mean, if you have the gold hem set... Oh wait, no, because Tortalas don't do fire damage, they do physical damage, don't they? Anyway, there's the Wolf Ring. Very useful ring for the entire game. Makes you not stagger from one hit from dogs. And if you have any poise granting armor whatsoever in the Wolf Ring, you can actually take 2 hits from the dogs and not stagger. Which, that amount of poise is very useful for the game as a whole. 41 poise is just like the perfect medium for not being too heavy, but like also having poise. Especially if you use the Wolf Ring and you don't want to use a different ring. I don't know. I usually use Chloranthy, or well, okay. When I'm not trying to beat the game quickly, so when I don't stream, so at this point, not usually, because most of the time I beat this game, I'm playing on stream. I'll use the Chloranthy ring, because it's just a insanely good ring. No, you don't have to kill a tree. You do have to kill it if you go down to the Moonlight Butterfly area, but... Okay, Illusory Walls Capra Demon video, that felt so justifying to me. Illusory Wall is my favorite content creator. It's still wild to me that he was in a video I made. Jesus Christ, my voice. Still wild to me that he was in a video I made. That was genuinely surreal. That was a super fun video to make too. And the fact he called it an honorary Dark Souls Dissected, I will never get over that. That's such a huge ego boost. Anyway, his Capra Demon video felt so justifying to me because I've always loved Capra Demon and I've always considered it a pure puzzle boss. There's nothing skill-based about the Capra Demon. If you just put on armor, it becomes an insanely easy boss compared to, like, even the gargoyles. Like, when you know how to kill the gargoyles and you know how to do the spacing and everything, the gargoyles are still way harder than Capra Demon. Or even, I don't know, personally, I find Taurus Demon to be harder than Capra, even when you do the plunging attack, just because you can get caught in the corner. I don't die to Taurus very often, especially now, but I've died to Taurus more than Capra, just because I know how to deal with Capra now. Excellent dev prank. Yeah, the Tortalas are very funny. There are a lot of enemies in Dark Souls that do damage types that it doesn't look like they should. There are a lot of enemies that do funny stuff with poise. Artorias poise restoring insanely fast is a very funny dev prank as well. I suck at parrying this guy. Never mind. I mean, I was right there. It was a good time to ask about the Wolf Ring. I try to be, I don't know, try to be engaged with the community. That's kind of like why I like streaming, you know? Streaming is fun because I get to talk to people and show off things that I wouldn't normally and whatever. Yeah, New Game Plus 7, or well, New Game Plus 6 is the... Hey, Titanite Shard, nice. It's the highest scaling in Dark Souls 1, but it's no joke for sure. Very, very difficult compared to even highest scaling New Game in like Dark Souls 2 or 3, just because your damage potential in Dark Souls 2 is way, way higher. And Dark Souls 3, I don't know, once you're at that point, it kind of becomes easy to just breeze through the bosses, in my opinion. I feel like the Dark Souls 3 bosses are a lot easier to learn most of the time. So I didn't have much trouble with higher new games in Dark Souls 3, especially compared to Dark Souls 1. Especially because I brought one of my first characters ever in Dark Souls 1 to New Game Plus 6 naturally. That was rough and took forever. I don't know. I feel like if you're fighting Capra Demon as a skill-based boss, you're fighting Capra Demon incorrectly. I should get the strength to... Well, I'm not going to be one-handing it. I do like damage scaling, so... Strength. I believe it primarily scales off of dexterity. I believe it's DC once we get to plus 15. Yeah, the R1 is what I'm worried about. I need 6 of these. And then I don't know if I'm going to have enough souls to actually upgrade it. Oh, I need one more Titanite Shard. Okay, this should be enough to take out the gargoyles, and it'll give me enough souls to get this thing upgraded. Do I have a bone? I don't. I want to get the large Titanite Shards from Sens, but would want a bone to do that so I can keep the souls. I guess I should just drop down to Firelink real quick. Jesus. Drop down to Firelink real quick. And grab the bones from there. I'll do that after I fight gargoyles. Women fear my thrusting weapon. I don't know, I would hope they wouldn't fear it. Speaking of wolf ring, I might as well put it on. I don't need almost. I could put it on wear the armor, but that's no fun. That's too easy. Oh my god, I forgot. I tried to do a running attack too, but it just didn't work. That's fine damage. I don't know. An intelligence run? I'm weird and don't like using sorceries generally. Well, that's not true. I like using sorceries because they're funny, but once you do one sorcery run, the rest of the sorcery runs are all the same. So I like Crystal Magic Weapon on a fast weapon. Crystal Magic Weapon on, I mean, any, like, dagger or curved sword class weapon is going to shred the game, and it's super fun. But if you want, like, a more unique experience, the Moonlight Greatsword is really fun in this game. It's pure magic, and is really, really good intelligence scaling. I believe... Also, Jesus, that's so much more damage than I was expecting to get out of this thing. I think it's S intelligence scaling, and also... Yeah, the pure magic damage is very unique for a physical. I believe the Moonlight Butterfly Spear also has pure intelligence, and is also the longest spear in the game, tied with the Demon Spear. So very fun weapons to use. Oh my goodness, wombo combo. Let me out. I can't believe I almost just died to the gargoyles. I would have cried. Okay, maybe be a little bit more careful. Black Knight crossbow would be awesome. Especially in Dark Souls 1. Make a useful crossbow other than the heavy crossbow. Okay, 3 hits for a stagger. Not bad. Straight out of Cyrodiil. Is it like... That sounds like a Oblivion parody song. Sorcery is the work of demons? That's pyromancy. Hello, Hawkbird Tree. Welcome. I don't know. I don't think sorcery is busted because you have to know how to position for bosses. It just so happens that most people are more inclined to position for sorceries better than for melee weapons. Plus, for melee weapons, you need to figure out where your positioning should be for each individual weapon, right? So I just personally don't find sorcery to be particularly busted or to make the game specifically easy. But there are a lot of sorceries that make the game really easy. Crystal Soul Spear is insane for the damage it does. Crystal Homing Soul Mass. Then you get to the DLC, and if you've been leveling strength as well, the Manus Catalyst obliterates everything with any of the 3 dark sorceries? I mean, no, 2, because it's just Dark Bead and the other one. Dark Orb that do physical damage, or do actual damage. I think the other one is just the Poison Mist for intelligence users. But Manus Catalyst is crazy. Faith on Falchion? Yeah, I mean, Dark Moonblade will shred the game easily. On any curved sword. whatsoever. I mean, on most weapons. But... Whoa, hi. I was not expecting to see you here. uh, 3 in the Bed of Chaos? There's only one witch in the Bed of Chaos. The other 2 things are like shackles holding it down, I thought. Right? So you have... Yeah, there's the Bed of Chaos. There's the one outside the Bed of Chaos. I believe she's a witch. There's Quaylana. There's Quaylag, obviously. There's the Fair Lady. I want to say there are more referenced in lore, but I don't actually know. Surprisingly, I haven't actually done a... I don't want to use those on that yet. I haven't actually done a Zweihander run yet, like on stream or whatever. Like, I've obviously used it in the past. But the poll to use a Zweihander is, and specifically in a Giant Dad cosplay, is going to be on the poll for next month, which I'm going to put up right after I finish this stream, or whenever I remember after I finish this stream. So look out for a poll if you want to, after this stream, if you want to help decide whatever I'm going to be streaming next. The Caravan Shotgun? Unfortunately, I don't understand the bit. The multi-shot crossbow, the Avalon. Yeah, it's in the Duke's Archives, I think. Isn't there a crossbow in the Demon Ruins? Like just before the Human Fire's Age? I don't know. I think there's a crossbow too there. Crossbow there too. No, is that a soul? And I don't know. For some reason I'm remembering a crossbow there, but I don't think there is. Anyway, yeah, the Avalon is technically the highest DPS crossbow, but in terms of like ammo efficiency, it's really not worth it at all. And it just doesn't do that much damage. The heavy crossbow also fires a lot faster. So it's a lot easier to use. The heavy crossbow is just better in the vast majority of circumstances. This is too low. I'm gonna get death planed as I stand here. Oh, come on. There we go. I haven't... Okay, I played like an hour or two. Yeah, a couple hours of New Vegas, and I couldn't get into it. I don't like the gunplay. The characters aren't intriguing to me. The story isn't intriguing to me. I'm the... Excuse me. Please get out of the hole. I'm the only trans femme in the world who doesn't like New Vegas. But I'm okay with that. What? Why am I failing at controlling Deathcam today? Okay. Claymore is a lot cooler, in my opinion, than Zweihander. Just because it's faster and a lot more useful for a lot of bosses. But I do understand the love for the Zweihander because big number funny and it's super easy to get. But I do still stand by the fact that I think it's very overrated. Not the only one? Oh my god. I'm not alone. The Guts Greatsword is... I mean, I did that run last week. It's fun, for sure. Not as amazing as I would hope, but it's fun. Disgraceful. I don't know. Fallout just doesn't do it for me. Like, I get it. I'm not saying it's a bad game or whatever. It's really just not my thing. Okay. First of all, I don't have any wrong opinions. All of my opinions are 100% correct. If you disagree with me, you're the one with the wrong opinion. New Vegas came free with the hormones. I do own New Vegas, and I played it, but... The exploration and graphics? The graphics don't bother me. I actually think it looks kind of nice for... Especially for, like, when it came out, and it has that, you know, old game vibe that I think is really fun, but... I don't know. The gameplay is what doesn't do it for me in the story. Go to the soup. No, not the soup. I don't know. I explored. I got past the first little town area. I did the quest there. I talked to a bunch of the NPCs. And then one of them told me to go somewhere, so I started going there. And then I just got really bored. I mean, I was bored the whole time. But I love the double spin. It's not as good as that Dark Souls 2 double spin because it doesn't have the same sweet spot. Halberds in Dark Souls 2 are busted. All the halberds in Dark Souls 2 are very busted. Like, even the like, kind of underwhelming ones like the normal halberd are just really, really good if you know how to hit with the sweet spot consistently. There you go. Have to find the gay doctor for it to be fun. I mean, I don't know. I tried. Maybe I'll give it a try in the future, but I really just don't think it's my game. Speaking of sweet spots, there are actually sweet spots in Dark Souls 1, and I didn't know that until... I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before. But it's weird. It doesn't work like Dark Souls 2, where there are like specific spots on the hitbox that count as sweet spots. It's time-based. I don't think the normal halberd has it on its R1, but like the Black Knight halberd, the Gargoyle halberd, it's based on how long the R1 like attack animation has gone for. So if it's too early, it'll do... I think the damage modifier is just 1.0. If you go too early, it is 1.5, or sorry, 1.2 if you get in the sweet spot for the timing. And then it's 0.8 if you hit too late. So the idea is like you're supposed to hit with the very middle of the blade. And because of the animation on the overhead swinging halberds, it's like if you are positioned correctly, it'll take the right amount of time to actually look like it's hitting the blade. Zelda 2 does get treated like Dark Souls 2. That's very true. Both incredible games that are slightly different from their predecessors, and because of that, we're hated in a lot of ways. Very tragic. I might get crunched. Okay, we're good. That was very close. Uncomfortably close, but we made it. Yeah, I've never used the normal halberd until now, obviously, just because I've never liked the R1 moveset. But... I don't know. I don't think Zelda 2 hit registry is that bad. Like, I don't know. You have to learn how to deal with like your dead spots, right? Your shield dead zones, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, learning the sweet spots is very, very difficult, especially in Dark Souls 2. I don't remember it being too much of an issue for me in Dark Souls 3, but Dark Souls 2 is very precise, but that's very balanced by the fact that they have insane damage if you can hit them. Like the Mastodon Halberd is technically the highest theoretical possible DPS in Dark Souls 2. It's theoretical because you'd have to spam the R2. Because the R2 is the one that has the highest DPS, but... Oh, excuse me. But, like, even without spamming the R2, it's still insane damage. Oh, there's a bloodstain. I thought it dropped something and I just couldn't see the item. I don't know, I guess it would have been the flame bearers and I wouldn't have cared very much. Trying to catch up on chat a little bit. Zelda 2 did well in Japan. It's weird that they never did anything like that again. I'd love to see another Zelda game, like a modern one, with the same like design sensibilities as Zelda 2. I think that'd be really interesting. The Grey Lance in Dark Souls 2 is so much fun. I need to do a playthrough with it again. That was one of the first weapons I used in that game. I think my first playthrough was Morningstar or Broadsword, one of the two. Followed closely by dual-wielded Broadsword or Morningstar. So like I did those two first. And then I used Great Lance, I think, in my next playthrough. I don't know. I did it pretty early. It's a super fun weapon, and I needed to do a new one at some point. Did I miss? No, because I already have... Okay. I know what I'm doing. I've never noticed that the length of my weapon really matters for the Bell Gargoyles, just because they also have a long weapon, and their fire breath is also very long. In my experience, faster weapons are better for the Gargoyles, but... I don't know. I don't think it makes a huge difference either way. Pardon me. Majora's Mask is awesome. I feel like everyone who's played Majora's Mask and actually like, hey, Flamberge, has actually gotten through the game. Thinks it's one of the best of the games, if not the best. Petrus run? I hate Petrus. I mean, I did a Petrus murder % run. That counts. I think that will suffice instead of doing a Petrus cosplay run. No, thank you. Hour stands a great, Lance. That sounds awesome. That's so cool. I don't know. Honestly, I would say the new Zelda game where you play as Zelda. I think that's a pretty traditional Zelda game in terms of structure and like puzzle design and stuff. Obviously, you have the Echo system, which is very unique to that game, but I don't think it fundamentally changes how the game is played in a lot of ways, how the puzzles are designed. Like, obviously, it's not just get dungeon item, use dungeon item for dungeon puzzles, but I don't know, it's really not that different. I think the R1 has better DPS than the R2, and the R2 is kind of more useful just for, like, group encounters. I don't know. Which is unfortunate, because the R2 is really funny. Yeah, I don't know. The R1 is definitely higher DPS. So. Okay. There's that. Oh, wait. Use the cage key. I grabbed it. I need to use it and bring the elevator down before it begins. I was definitely about to leave without bringing down the elevator. I don't know. I hate Petrus, and I think that's perfect for a villain character, but I also just hate Petrus. Majora's Mask? What about Majora's Femme? Yeah. Really? You know, I've expected that to happen. Oh, hey, plus 15 before Quelaag is funny. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so first of all, I can't believe you would accuse me, of all people, of thinking of panties in this chat. Are you kidding me? Definitely. I wasn't thinking of it. And if I was, I would not be the only one. I want dexterity. Give me 20 dexterity, and I'll go 20 strength as well. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, true. Nintendo is right now. Very much advocating against spending money on a Switch 2. There was some talk that Duskbloods was going to come out on other consoles later, but I don't know. We'll see if Duskbloods ends up being a Switch 2 exclusive. Everything I heard of it not being a Switch 2 exclusive was pure rumor, though, so I wouldn't hold my breath for it. Though personally, I'm not super looking forward to Duskbloods anyway. Can't believe it's not Bloodborne. 145 is pretty high level for the Dark Souls 3 DLC. I'm usually like level 80, 100 at that point, I think. So mad having essentially 0 health. I mean, not getting hit isn't that hard in Dark Souls 1, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've really ever had an issue with like low health runs in Dark Souls 1. Whoa, I did not press the roll button there. Get out of here. I'm gonna rest in Firelink just so I can come back here and then go through the Burg to get the Black Knight later. Only make Gothic titles as console exclusives? I don't know, you could play Thymesia though. Thymesia is pretty cool, and it's Gothic. Yeah, Bookushin, that was my opinion as well. I don't know, I'm not hating it right now. I think I got used to having movesets that I'm not used to, ironically. Just by playing Dark Souls 2 more, because Dark Souls 2 has a lot of really unique movesets that you have to get used to on the fly. So, I don't know. I'm enjoying this so far. Blow up the Switch 2 as a science experiment? That's a wonderful idea. As long as you don't give Nintendo money to do it. That's the important, like, thing to do there. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about Elder Scrolls lore, so I cannot engage in the Cyrodiil vampire beef. the drama. I actually got an offer. I won't say what the game is, but I got an offer to be given keys for a multiplayer hack and slash that is Souls-like-esque. And if I get those keys, I've invited Aurora and Spelunker to do a playthrough of that with me. So I'm not against the idea of like multiplayer only Soulsborne games, but and I'm like really excited for Night Rain as well. That's coming out in 9 days. I'm so excited. Actually, I'm very, very excited for Night Rain. What? I got scared by that ghost. It was gonna attack me. This is the Dark Souls of Bloodborne. I don't know. I felt like Bloodborne was the Dark Souls of Bloodborne, right? All right. Good luck with whatever it is you're doing, Vocation. Yeah. Can't believe I got jump scared by a ghost of all things. Do you care about Duskbloods but not Night Rain? Or is there a reason for that specifically, or is it just like Night Rain isn't your style of game, and Duskbloods do you think is an interesting take or whatever? Because my experience with that is the exact opposite. I very much do not care about Duskbloods. I am very excited for Night Rain. Yeah, I was gifted a copy of Night Rain, the deluxe edition, so I'm very, very excited to play that on release, and I'm planning on doing something when it comes out on release day, but we'll see how that goes, because the idea might be a little bit too, what's the word I'm looking for? Might be more difficult than I can handle. I don't know why I can't find the word. I forgot about Duskborn. That's valid to be or Duskbloods. Duskborn? The Banshees shoot lightning at you from their baby. They hold up their baby and the lightning fires. They also have the ghost dagger that they swing at you occasionally, but they usually just shoot lightning because they move pretty slowly and kind of try to range from you. Yeah, I'm really hoping it runs well on the Steam Deck. Given that Elden Ring runs at 30 FPS, relatively consistent on the Steam Deck, I have faith that Night Rain is going to run well as well, but we'll see. I never kill the Banshees. Actually, one might attack me here. It usually does. We'll see. If I get lightning fired at me, you'll know why. I don't know that they're a commentary on the horrors of pregnancy. I think they're just a commentary on people drowning to death with their children in their arms. Because the entire city was flooded. I don't think that has anything to do with pregnancy specifically. Though they are very reminiscent of the Queen of Yharnam in terms of design, huh? With the long flowy dress and everything. Yeah, I don't know. If future Souls games are Elden Ring-esque, then I probably won't be super into them as well, but I don't know. Night Rain specifically, I feel like takes what Elden Ring did and makes it better for my personal game sensibilities. But like, yeah, I don't know. If there are more Elden Ring-esque games in the future, I probably won't be too super hyped for them, personally. Obviously not. Yeah, it is weird how many like design cues they share with the Queen Yharnam. Yeah, Elden Ring DLC was better than base game in my opinion. I didn't like most of the bosses though. No, I can't believe I missed that terribly with the pole arm. I was expecting the hitbox to be a little bit bigger though, to be fair. Hey, that's not bad damage. It is plus 10, but like, that's not bad. Wisp. I want to kill these guys in case I can get a chunk. Triple dark wraith surprise. Like a ice cream flavor. Really, again? Oh my god. Right. Yeah, I also vastly prefer Dark Souls 1, obviously. You can get the large ember without the large... You can get the very large ember without the large ember, and you can use it if you have a weapon that is between +6 and +10. Why haven't I beaten the game yet? Because I died to Dark Wraiths. Because I'm terrible at this game, despite playing it for my job. Oreo Nights. Yeah, the hitbox on that plunging attack is a lot smaller than I was expecting it to be. At least the Dark Souls 2 plunging attacks actually, like, they're hard to hit, but that's because the hitbox actually matches the weapon. I could use infusions, but, like, why would I? Infusions don't scale in Dark Souls 1. Technically, Enchanted and Magic, Divine, and Occult do scale a little bit, but the damage, with it being split damage especially, is so minimal that infusions just give you worse damage than standard 100% of the time. Unless you're using, like, Chaos on a soul level 1 character or whatever. What other Dark Souls 2 weapons do I like? Most of them, to be honest. Oh wait, no, my first playthrough was with a Greatsword. Of course it was. I can't believe I forgot that. I used Greatsword, then Power Stance Broadswords, and Morning Stars. I used the Lance. I used... What else have I used? I mean, Mastodon Halberd was fun. I've used a lot of weapons in Dark Souls 2, but not nearly as many as Dark Souls 1, obviously. I have done a Puzzling Stone Sword playthrough, and it was unfortunate. Yeah. I've used the Black Knight Halberd. I power stanced the the blacksmith hammers, which I'm going to turn into a video. Actually, I've done all 3 games of the blacksmith hammers. I've done Dark Souls 1 with all 3. Like, New Game, I used Vamos's. New Game Plus, I used the Giant Blacksmith Hammer, and the New Game Plus, I used the Blacksmith Hammer. Those were all super fun playthroughs. Okay, I don't care if I die here. And then Dark Souls 2, I power stanced the Craftsman's Hammer and Blacksmith Hammer, which was super fun. And I've been hyper-fixating on Dark Souls 2 specifically ever since. In the Dark Souls 3, I just used the normal Blacksmith Hammer, since that's the only Blacksmith Hammer in the game. Which was fun. I obviously had to do the Dancer early to get that, whatever. Which was an enjoyable run. I had a good time. Pardon me? Everyone's first Dark Souls 2 weapon is that Greatsword. I mean, how are you going to play Dark Souls 2, find the Greatsword in one of the first areas in the game, and not immediately think, yep, I'm using exclusively that for the rest of my playthrough? Like, if you don't, you're just wrong. I mean, I don't know. Some weapons actually do better with infusions than others, because for, like, lightning infusion, fire infusion, your damage is going to be your based physical damage, which I believe the Great Axe has the highest base physical damage in the game at 350, I want to say. 250, something like that. So no scaling, the Great Axe gets 250 damage, which is higher than even the Demon's Great Axe, which is most of its damage is from its S strength scaling. So the most damage you're going to get out of an infusion that doesn't scale, so like no magic or enchanted or whatever, is going to be a lightning or fire infusion off of the Great Axe. Or on the Great Axe, rather. And that gets you 500-ish. 500, 700, one of those two. Split AR. But it is split, so it's like not super great in terms of actual damage that you're dealing. Ornstein and Dark Souls 2. I mean, there's a lot of potential reasons for it. I think that Ornstein and Dark Souls 2 was a lot better than the entirety of... Oh yeah, I already got the Crystal Lizard. Than the entirety of Anor Londo and Dark Souls 3. Like, Anor Londo and Dark Souls 3 felt so... Like, I get that the whole time and space is convoluted or whatever, and the world is converging on Lothric or whatever, but, like, you're gonna tell me that Anor Londo, which ceased to exist in Dark Souls 2, no sign of it anywhere. The idea of Anor Londo is gone completely. And then it got up and walked to Lothric in Dark Souls 3? Okay. I feel that way about all the references to Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 and 3. Because like in Dark Souls 2, you have like, you know, the majestic greatsword, which is Artorias' greatsword, where it's like, oh yeah, he was left-handed. And it's like, oh cool, that's Artorias. And then Dark Souls 3, it's like the Curse Sword, Great Shield. It's so heavy that no normal person could use it. Could this be about futility? Or like, hey, Enter Londo is here now. Or hey, the Black Knights are here now. I don't know. Dark Souls 3 references to Dark Souls 1 don't do it for me personally. And then like Gwyn being the strongest Lord of Cinder ever for the... I'm gonna go rest just in case, because somebody said you have to rest to do this. To make it faster. I'm gonna believe them. Anyway, it's like... Gwyn, the guy who was defeated, the very first Lord of Cinder to be defeated, is the strongest one for the Soul of Cinder to call on? What are you talking about? But then Dark Souls 2 was like, is that Ornstein? And then you like go into the lore and it's like, is that like an illusion? Or is that like actually Ornstein? What's he doing here? It's really cool. I think that's a really interesting like callback there, because it's not an obvious callback. It's not like, oh my god, this is Ornstein, the guy from Dark Souls 1. It's like, you know, he's kind of like Ornstein. And it's like also a really interesting fight because he's using Super Ornstein's moveset, but on just normal Ornstein, with also like mixed in with normal Ornstein's moveset, or other way around, normal Ornstein's moveset with Super Ornstein's moveset mixed in. But it's also a one-on-one fight with Ornstein, which I feel like a lot of people appreciated, which, you know, is evidenced by like Itch Bomber Guy or whatever. I don't know. I really, really love Dark Souls 2. Yeah, Dark Souls 3 being like, yeah, no, Dark Souls 2 isn't real anymore. That's so annoying, because I love Dark Souls 2's lore. I think it's so much more interesting than Dark Souls 3's. As much as I love Dark Souls 1, I think Dark Souls 2 did lore better in a lot of ways. I do like Dark Souls 1's lore, like, on its own. Probably more than Dark Souls 2, but the way Dark Souls 2 communicated it, and the way it used its lore was really, really interesting. Adaptability is one of the best things about Dark Souls 2, and I will not be hearing any dissent from that. Adaptability is genuinely such a cool stat, because if you're good at the video game, you don't need to level it up at all, and you can use those stats in like damage for a cool glass cannon build or whatever. Or if you're not good at the game and you don't want to use rolling, you don't have to level up adaptability, and then you have more stats to put into vitality. Why did I do that? Into vitality and endurance, so you can use a shield better, so you don't have to block in the first place. It's genuinely such a cool stat that people hate because they're bad at the video game and don't understand how to read. Like, the game specifically tells you that agility makes it easier to roll, so if you're struggling to roll, level up adaptability, which levels up agility. I love adaptability. It's such a cool idea that really reinforces the build variety and the reliance on your build for Dark Souls 2. The parrying in Dark Souls 2, I don't know the timing at all. It's really, really easy if you use the buckler, but otherwise I have no idea what the timing is. Yeah, rolling just isn't important outside of positioning in Dark Souls 2. I think the most potent example of that is Sauron, where he's widely considered one of the harder bosses in Dark Souls 2, which I don't understand, because you can just roll to the right for all of his attacks without adaptability. The only exceptions being his, like, cross slashes. Oh, I should level this up to 14 and then fight the straight demon. But yeah, I mean, positioning is the important part. You roll away for the cross slashes, you roll to the right for every other attack, and Elan is easy. I think... Oh my god. Okay. If you think liking adaptability in Dark Souls 2 is crazy, you're not ready for the fact that I think Ludden is one of the best bosses in Dark Souls 2. Because when you enter the DLC, you have to go through the entirety of the DLC to even see Ava in the first place, which really makes Ava stand out, right? Like, oh my god, this invisible cat. That's so cool. And I needed this specific thing to be able to see her in the first place, and now that I'm actually seeing her, she's still a hard boss. This is so cool. So that fight sticks in your mind. And it's like a genuinely difficult fight, especially if you don't know that not hitting the head will consume your durability faster. So you have to be very careful about your durability. You have to be very careful about where you're hitting her. You have to be careful that if you have a sweet spot weapon, then you need to be like aiming your sweet spot correctly, especially if you don't know about the durability thing. If you have a low durability weapon, it's even more interesting. Or you have to like swap weapons in the middle of the fight or find a chance to use repair powder. So like you have all these things going on in this fight. And it's really fun to learn. I found Ava to be a really fun fight to learn how to do, right? And then you learn it. It's like, oh my god, okay. Once you learn the fight, it becomes pretty easy. But there are all these mechanics on it that make it super interesting. And like, there's so much sticking in your mind, and it makes the fight super memorable. And then you go through this. Okay, I'm not gonna defend the frigid outskirts. I do understand hating the frigid outskirts, but it's so easy to get through once you know what you're doing. And the run back to Luddenszalen is genuinely a non-issue when you know what you're doing. If you just kill the reindeer on the way, you're fighting like 3, maybe 4 of them on the way to Luddenszalen, and then you do the fight. And you've already learned Ava, right? You've already understood that Ava is an easy boss if you utilize your positioning properly, if you understand your iframes on your rolls. And so you fight another Ava, and then, you know, just over halfway through the health bar, Zolin jumps in, like, oh my god, I need to kill this first one right now before this other one obliterates me. So then you rush down lead, which might consume more durability than you wanted or whatever. Or if you're not paying too much attention, it could, you know, put you in at risk, so you're doing less damage, so you need to find a time to heal before you actually fight Zolin. Oh my goodness. Which is just like a super interesting moment there, that hugely frantic moment when Zolin first spawns in. And then you finally get down lead, and Zolin's there, and you're like, oh my god, now I gotta do this again? Are you kidding me? And then halfway through its health bar, it starts healing and buffing and doing more damage, and having, I think it becomes more aggressive, though I'm not sure on that. It's so much fun. It's such a frantic fight that makes an otherwise relatively easy fight way, way more difficult, and adds so much to such a fun fight. I love Luddenszalen. Growing in terms of stream viewers, yeah, actually. First, I had a huge boost last stream. I had, I think, 50 or 60 concurrent viewers last stream, which is the most I've ever had. This is why I belong in this soup. I mean, look, I am not wrong for liking a good boss. If you don't like Luddenszalen, it's either a skill issue or you're not learning the mechanics of the game properly. Sorry for going on a autistic. Oh, by the way, this boss is insanely underrated and actually super cool. Yeah, Dark Souls 1 parrying is a lot easier than Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 parrying, I think, is the hardest to learn, but it's also not particularly difficult. Dark Souls 3, I don't understand at all, and I've tried. Using smaller shields makes it relatively easy, but you have to parry super early. I think you actually have to parry earlier in Dark Souls 2, but don't quote me on that. I think it depends on the attack, the shield, whatever. So, I don't know. I suck at Dark Souls 2 and 3 parrying. I personally find Dark Souls 3 parrying harder, but Dark Souls 2 parrying might be harder. Dark Souls 1 parry is extremely easy and probably overpowered, but it's fun. Yeah, finding the path the first time through the frigid outskirts is by far the hardest part. And then you have to remember that path and understand that there might be an easier path as well. Like if you... The most efficient path to get through the frigid outskirts, you have to basically turn around at the very first, or at the very beginning. And then you go straight in a specific direction for a little bit, and then you get to a building, and then you turn. And then you hide in the building until the storm goes away. Like, it's not that difficult to figure it out, but figuring it out in the first place can be kind of difficult. I don't know. I don't like the frigid outskirts, and I understand hating Luddenszalen just for the run back alone, but the boss fight is so good. It's such a good fight, and nobody recognizes it at all. Yeah, Shulva is the best DLC, but I love Ilium Lois just for making me understand that my first impression of an area and boss could just be completely wrong, and it could be a pure skill issue, which it absolutely was. But Shulva, I think Alana is one of my favorite bosses in the series. I love Alana. Then is also a relatively fun dragon fight. I wouldn't say it tops like Calamite, but it is still a really good fight on its own. Grave Robbers are Grave Robbers, I don't know. I'm not going to try to defend them, but they're probably my least favorite DLC boss, to be honest. Looking Glass Knight is pretty fun too, yeah. Dark Souls 2 has a lot of really cool bosses, and nobody recognizes that. Ruin Sentinels are my favorite king fight in the series, by far. I don't know, actually. That might go to Legends All In now. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of hate that that's true, because nobody's gonna believe me. What am I doing? Where am I going? I need to go down to Quelaag. Hello, Loot Crate. Welcome. Yeah, NB, I guess that's why people are here, to hear me talk about stuff. Oh, wait. I didn't mean to press that button. Yeah, an entire boss summoning an entire other boss is so cool. And then the skeletons aren't like particularly difficult, but they can add a lot of stress to the fight because there's 3 of them, and you need to, if you don't have a weapon that's good for crowd control, you have to be very careful when taking them out. And sentinels are hot, true. Even like the bad bosses, Jesus Christ, even the bad bosses of Dark Souls 2, I don't find particularly bad. Like, I don't know, there's Royal Red Authority who dies in 2 hits. And the Toxic isn't bad if you understand how to deal with encounters like that in Dark Souls 2. Like, you literally just pull out a bow and it becomes easy, right? Or like, I don't know, Howling Magus and Congregation are infamously easy. It'd be like calling Pinwheel bad, but you can also kill Pinwheel in 2 hits, so why does it matter? So I don't know. Dark Souls 2 is so good. Ivory King was my least favorite DLC boss. Just because I don't like going through the entire fight beforehand. But once you actually get to the king, it's not that difficult of a fight if you understand the like base mechanics of Dark Souls 2. So like if you have all 4 of the guys and you go in, you have this like awesome, super cool like army versus army battle. I think that's awesome. I think Ivory King is a super cool boss, even if the boss itself isn't particularly fun for me. But otherwise, it's kind of just underwhelming in terms of gameplay. A bad Soulsborne boss is an easy one? I would disagree. I think there are bad bosses that are difficult and bad bosses that are easy. But that said, bad is a very subjective term. Like, I don't like Nameless King. It's because I feel like he's too fast for the pace of Dark Souls. It's not even that he's too fast. It's just that he's, like, annoyingly fast. Like, I can beat him in, like, you know, 2 or 3 attempts per playthrough. So it's, like, not that difficult of a fight. But I also just don't think he's fun to fight. I don't know. What other bosses do I not like in Dark Souls 3? Half-Light isn't, like, particularly easy or difficult, but it's obviously not a good fight by most people's standards. Covetous Demon is awesome. He gorged himself because he had a crush on a girl. That's very understandable. I don't know. I like Sanctuary Guardian, and Sanctuary Guardian is a pretty easy boss, right? But just because of its health pool, but it's my favorite boss in the series. You don't like any of the Dark Souls 2 bosses? I feel like the bosses are more to, like, punctuate the areas than the other way around, right? Where the areas lead up to the bosses, like Dark Souls 3 does more, in my opinion. I don't know. Yeah, if you can learn how to get through the Fruited Outskirts easy, then Legends All In is genuinely a really interesting, cool boss. Despite the run back. Plus 15 on Quelaag, by the way. Because it's funny. I still don't love the moveset, but I don't know. I'm not hating it. I should grab the Grass Crush Shield. Is that worth it? Lost Center is very cool. I think Lost Center, especially New Game Plus Lost Center, is a super fun boss. With the 2 Pyromancers coming in the middle. God, that was so difficult. I had so much trouble with that in the first time fighting it. But going back to it, I'm not sure how difficult it would even be for me. But God, that... I just wanted the... Was it flame weapon that you get from that soul? I don't know. Very, very fun. Very difficult boss. Sanctuary Guardian feels like it's mocking you. I mean... I don't know. I guess. Yorm is a very disappointing boss. I don't know. It's an interesting gimmick that they did better in Elden Ring, which I haven't said about anything else in the entirety of the Dark Souls trilogy. I mean, Sanctuary Guardian is a chimera, right? So it's supposed to be, like, all unnatural and weird. Where does it come from? Did somebody make the Sanctuary Guardian? Is that like an unnatural thing? Is there like a Seath in Ulasil? I don't know. Where does it come from? Yeah, Dark Souls 2 invaders are super cool. To be fair, there are some cool ones in Dark Souls 3. Like Soreg can invade you. And he has the Fume Knight Ultra Greatsword and Tarkus's Black Iron Shield just out of nowhere. I think that's pretty awesome. But then in Dark Souls 2, you have like Fencer Sharon, you have Armorer Dennis, you have like the Forlorn invading you randomly. You have the 4 invaders and the Ivory King DLC. There are a lot of really, really cool invader battles in Dark Souls 2. All can be considered like their own mini boss. Is this Seath? I didn't know Seath even existed back then. Oh my god, yeah, the Shulva guy who's just kind of standing there pretending to be a cooperator, and then he follows you, and then you attack him and he just runs away. It's so good. So many cool invaders and NPC fights in Dark Souls 2. When in doubt, blame Gwyn or Seath. That's solid. Ceaseless goes through a great... I guess that makes sense, because he, like, slams down on you, right? So it's hitting your shield, but it's also hitting your dead spot. Hey, Anthony, welcome. It's been a while since you've been in a stream. You are yellow now, because you've been a member for some number of months. I don't remember how long, actually. Yeah, the guy who runs down the tower in the Ivory King DLC, and you can just pull out a beat of giants and he dies. It's so good. Mr. Halberd. This character is named Brooke because Brooke, who, if you don't know, is my headmate, and she Halberd, Brooke, you know, you get it. Hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. True. Yeah, Elden Ring invaders are pretty... I don't know. A lot of Elden Ring, in my opinion, was pretty bad, though. It's not my style of game, personally, as much as I did want to like it. Well, yeah, I mean, Seath obviously did exist, but I didn't know he was, like, doing his scholar thing yet. I don't know. Anthony, you just gotta do what I did and make money from... Well, okay. Make, like, 100, 200 bucks a month from playing video games. Technically my job, and my partner is very, very cool and supports me through it anyway, so that is a pretty banger of a character name. Halberd is pretty good. So I feel like it should have been spelled BYRD for the, like, the chess player, so like it's an actual last name. Halbert. That's pretty good. Alberta or Halfred. I don't know. I think I like Halberd more personally. Okay, let's see the kind of damage on this. I can't imagine it's terrible. Oh my goodness. What? Why did the second one do so much more damage? What the? Is it like sweet spotting? Maybe not. I can't tell. Does that have a sweet spot? It feels like it, right? Because I'm doing more damage. Oh, what if I stand farther away? Is that going to do less damage? Oh, I don't know. I can tell. I wasn't paying attention to actual numbers. Wow, that is a lot higher damage than I was expecting. Is this just normal damage? Is it like normal and thrusting? Yeah, regular and thrust. Okay. Anthony, nobody is going to understand that. Yeah, I'm a very, very lucky girl to be able to do this. Oh, Larry Bird. I forgot Larry Bird existed, I'm going to be honest. I don't think about sports very often. For players who love to fight the camera. To be fair, that's also Dark Souls 3 DLC bosses. and a couple bosses in Dark Souls 2 if you don't know what you're doing. Like, if you're trying to rely too much on lock-on in Dark Souls 2, that's a big problem. But Dark Souls 3 has, like, Madeir. Or... yeah, I mean, it is out at plus 15, but I usually get plus 15s before Iron Golem, so... I don't know. I feel like a lot of bosses in Elden Ring could have been cool, and, like, in subsequent playthroughs, I've learned to enjoy more. Like, I like Margit more than I used to. I like Tree Sentinel a lot more than I used to. I don't know. But once you... I don't know. Once you, like, get into the later game, a lot of the boss fights are really annoying because they just do stupidly high damage numbers. God, even, like, mini bosses, like the death bird in the mountaintops, like, it does so much damage. It's so annoying. That's where I stopped my last Elden Ring playthrough, because I just didn't want to deal with that, because it's such a stupidly high amount of damage. Like, I appreciate Moog more than I used to. There are a lot of bosses that I feel like I just didn't like because I didn't like the fact that Elden Ring is very trial and error in a lot of places, which, like, I'm kind of fine with now. As much as I prefer the sight reading that Dark Souls 1 and 2, and largely 3 as well, allow for, Elden Ring didn't do that, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, just not what I go for. You have a Diary of a Wimpy Kid roleplay group club at school. I mean, it is a college, that makes sense, actually. A twin blade? But you're grabbing the blade and swinging around the poles. A twin pole. A bow staff, but cooler. A bow staff, but a lot more dangerous for the user. I wouldn't compare Dark Souls 3 to Elden Ring, I'm gonna be honest. They feel like fundamentally different experiences. Nameless is probably the closest you can get to an Elden Ring boss in Dark Souls 3. But even then, like, Dark Souls 3, combat, I don't know, Nameless also feels very Dark Souls 3. Anthony, thank you so much. It means a lot. And congratulations on the gifted membership, Beth. Oh my god, I didn't mean to press the jump button. Armor does... You can stand up there? Okay. Armor does feel very cosmetic in Dark Souls 3, that's true. I mean, the damage numbers are mitigated much by using armor, but it doesn't feel impactful because of the poise, or lack thereof. So I do understand that sentiment. Or it's absolutely 100% cosmetic in Bloodborne as well. I don't actually like Moog, or not Moog, sorry, Morgott, because there are a couple attacks that I find really annoying and still have no idea how to dodge, despite having played the game for like 400 hours at this point. Like the 12 hitbox spin attack he does or whatever. Dark Souls 3 has active poise. It has super armor. So during certain attacks, during certain attacks, it basically increases your poise. There is a little bit of passive poise, but it doesn't matter. One day I will make a video on my second channel about Ham Heartbreak, that's true. If you don't know, if you're in the stream and don't know, I have a second channel called Rukatu. There's a link to it on my channel page, and I have a lot of Sonic game reviews on there, and I also have a Minecraft video. So if you're interested in hearing me talk about games that aren't Dark Souls, there you go. I don't know. I feel like Elden Ring defenses are necessary if you want to learn the bosses, but it also is really annoying to put so much into defenses and health and whatever when you could have more damage, and more damage just feels better. Yeah, Elden Ring is very, very, very different. Dark Souls 3 is not R1 spam. You can beat it with R1 spam, but you can also beat Dark Souls 1 and 2 with R1 spam. It's just a lot better, easier, more fun. Without using R1 spam. I need to be careful. Oh. God damn it, Unzine. God damn it, Smo. Okay, I need to be careful with this moveset to actually hit things. Can you stop? Oh my god, I haven't even gotten a chance to attack. I don't know. I don't hate the character focus or the like the action focus. Sorry, in modern FromSoft games. I do prefer the RPG focus in Dark Souls 1 and 2, but I think Dark Souls 3 absolutely has its place and feels like a fitting capstone to the Dark Souls franchise. As much as I don't particularly enjoy Elden Ring. Oh my god, why? Stop it. Jesus. Yeah, the poise doesn't matter in Dark Souls 3, but the numbers do. Wow, that is good damage, actually. Should have gotten the Leo Ring. Hold on. Leo Ring. Penalty is steep? I mean, I guess if you're bad at the video game. I don't know. I feel like there are very few instances in which the penalty for missing difficult to land attacks. Like, there are bosses where you don't want to be using jump attacks or whatever, right? Or strong attacks or whatever. Like Nameless, you just don't have time to do a strong attack. But with something like Dancer or Dragon Slayer Armor or even Soul of Cinder, there are so many instances for you to be able to use hard-hitting attacks. Like charged R2s are kind of insane in Dark Souls 3 if you know what you're doing. I was not expecting... Whoa! The poise killed me. I'm so used to not having poise, and then I didn't get knocked down, so I wasn't expecting to have to dodge there. Dark Souls 3 is pay to win. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to use a DLC weapon or ring, I would suppose that's technically true. Oh, absorption in Dark Souls 3? Yeah, true. But it's very difficult to get your head around because it doesn't feel like you're getting a lot more absorption with like how poise works, in my opinion. A lot of people really like Pontiff. Liking Pontiff is a very common preference. In fact, I would say more people love Pontiff than hate Pontiff. But I personally despise Pontiff. My least favorite, sorry, non-optional Dark Souls 3 boss. Ugh, they're all the way. I was greedy. And it's not even that Pontiff is particularly bad. I'm going to be honest, it's mostly a skill issue. I feel like it's like Gwyn, where I would like it more if I tried to parry, but I suck at Dark Souls 3 parries, so I don't really want to learn it. I'm so not used to fighting Smo in this phase. This feels wrong. Oh. I got hit by phase 1 Smo butt slam. That's crazy. That's never happened before. It has, I'm sure. But it's never happened before. Anthony, member for 9 months. That's a long time. Thank you. Gorilla, 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 gorilla. Aesthetically pleasing? Is it auditory? Is it ASMR? Hearing that word over and over? Oops, that was pure skill issue on my part. I should have just pressed the dodge button, to be honest. One more hit should do it. Oh my god, not if he does this! That's so unfortunate. If he had done any other attack, I would have been okay. Which I was not expecting him to use that attack while I was approaching, of all things. Okay. I need to equip humanity here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I probably like Pontiff if I was better at the video game, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just really bad at Dark Souls 3. I'm bad at the skill-based part of Dark Souls 3. Like, a lot of bosses can be dodged really easily with pure knowledge, right? Like Dark Souls 1 and 2, but not that. Stamina is not worth the R2 for this boss, despite the hitboxes. Woo, that was very scary. Almost got obliterated. Krista, thank you. Yeah. 8 months is almost as long as Anthony, but unfortunately Anthony got here a little bit sooner. Leo Ring, that's rare. I barely ever get Leo Ring because I don't like that fight. Can I prove that I'm not a potato? I don't think so. I do have a picture, like the profile picture for my second channel is a picture of my face. I don't think I look like a potato in that one. Don't worry, Krista. I don't expect you to donate. I still very much appreciate everything you've done. I don't expect anything. Gonna miss a bingo square, true. I don't even think the bingo board is complete. I think it is a hot take only because Gwyn is insanely difficult if you don't parry, and parrying feels like the risk reward. Like, you can get a lot of damage really easily, but also parrying can be a lot harder for a lot of people than just like normal dodging, because normal dodging is what you've been doing for the whole game. While with parrying, if you mess up the timing, you are definitely getting hit, and you can't like outposition for Gwyn. It just so happens that for most people, parrying ended up being way easier. Maybe if they changed the parry mechanics in Dark Souls 1 or made less of it, made him use less parryable attacks more often or something. But generally, as is, I think Gwyn being parryable works. Krista, thank you so much donating for the bingo. You know, you do control an entire square in the bingo. You could give yourself a bingo at some point. That situation could arise. This is unfair. Thank you very much. Yeah, you do also just have the option to fight Gwyn without parrying. That's true. Rykard has a Yorm complex. You think Rykard is worse than Yorm? You gifted yourself this membership? Was that like a YouTube being like, oh hey, you're not a member. You got randomly selected. Yeah, you think Rykard is worse than Yorm? Like, I get it, actually. Rankard Call, or whatever, his second phase, like, huge attack is really, really annoying. I understand. Hopefully, I'll be fighting Manus near the end of this stream. We'll see how that goes for me. You've never fought Rykard? I don't know. I think Rykard is more engaging than Yorm, and therefore is a better boss, and there are ways to circumvent the difficulty entirely. Jesus T-post for our sins. Anthony, did you choose to donate to this person? Or was this a random gift membership? If that's random, that's a way funnier. Anyway, there are ways to mitigate the difficulty of Rykard. You can level up the Serpent Hunter. You can get the Mimic tier, and Rykard just loses its difficulty, and it's still a lot more engaging of a spectacle fight, right? I'm so happy that was random. That's awesome. You know, normally it chooses someone who's like active in chat. I think the more active you are in chat, the more likely it is to gift you a membership. So the fact that somebody who has never talked in a stream chat for me got the membership is really funny, especially when it's that name. That's hilarious. It's actually not the same gimmick as Yorm, because the Storm Ruler has one attack that has the wind stuff, right? Rykard is a lot more normal of a fight. It just has the spectacle because every attack has the wind, right? So it's a normal fight that looks cool because of the wind, as opposed to a boring fight that they tried to make look cool with the wind and didn't succeed particularly, in my opinion. Get up. And stop getting hit by the exact same head every time. This happens every time. I think no Storm Ruler Yorm is very boring. I did it with the Corvian Great Scythe, and even once I figured out, oh my goodness, that you need to hit the arms to stagger him, it just still wasn't super fun. I think the fact that you don't have to trial and error most movesets in Dark Souls 1 makes it a lot more fun. Also, the running attack did so much more damage. What is that motion value? Maybe I should RTSR, just for the stupid amounts of damage. Oh, Jesus. Why does my voice keep cracking? I mean, I guess I am technically going through puberty, but my voice shouldn't be changing. Head I'm gonna assume I know this isn't what you mean, but I'm going to assume that you mean what would the flavor of a Hydra head taste like if you cut it off and ate it, because that would be an infinite supply of food because they constantly regrow their heads. I imagine it would taste pretty good. It's, you know, a very exotic meat, probably a little fishy, a little gamey. I know my voice has changed, but it wasn't because of puberty. It's not like my vocal cords are getting shorter or longer. Longer? I don't know. It's not like my vocal cords are becoming tighter to make my voice higher. I just have stopped masking my voice. um, I never voice trained. This is just kind of what my voice does when I'm not trying to make it deeper. Gray reptile tastes like chicken. But it is like pretty fishy reptile, you know? Hydras do violate the laws of thermodynamics, but they're also a mythical creature. Unintentionally, yeah. I noticed that after I transitioned, actually. Before I transitioned, I was very self-conscious of my voice. So I just like subconsciously made it deeper. I couldn't talk loud at all before I transitioned. Yeah, voice training is for cowards and people with voice dysphoria. I'm not gonna knock voice training for trans femmes, but not voice training is incredibly based. MTF hormones, so estrogen, progesterone, androgen inhibitors that don't affect your vocal cords at all, but testosterone, so FDM hormones does affect your vocal cords. So your voice will naturally get deeper if you're taking testosterone. It won't naturally get higher if you're just taking estrogen and progesterone or whatever. You have to cook up pufferfish? Are they toxic? Are hydras toxic? Is that a thing? I'm gonna go this way. Hopefully I don't die to the cat. Anthony, you did say you were... I know... Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that, actually, on the stream chat, but... I don't know your gender persuasion exactly. I don't know. That might have to do with that. I don't know. I think, personally, I think not voice training is better for a lot of reasons. If you don't have voice dysphoria, not voice training is better. First of all, because it's easier and cooler, and women with deep voices are hot. But also, more importantly, or not even necessarily deep voices, but also women with deep voices are hot. But also because for the people who can't voice train, for the people who have ADHD and can't stick to that kind of schedule, for the people who are in unsafe places and literally can't voice train for their own safety or whatever reason, right? It normalizes like women having different voices than your standard typical like feminine voice. So oh my god, Sif, I'm so sorry. Jesus Christ. That's so much more damage than I was expecting. Come back here. Yeah, I don't know. If you are of the trans femme persuasion and can avoid voice training. Oh my god, Sif. I do recommend it for a variety of reasons. That counter damage on that first hit was wild. Okay. Yeah, it was also very uncomfortable for me, so I just kind of gave up and realized that I was more comfortable with my voice, because when I started voice training, I was still masking my voice without realizing it. And I realized that once I stopped doing that, I started liking my voice a lot more. Right, soft gaps. Halberd moveset makes the fight a lot more cool, yeah. And you don't have to... and you have to worry about the thigh gaps, especially if you're not using the R2. Your voice is not horrible, you know that. Um, I don't know. I feel like also applying feminine and masculine to voices is very strange because so many different people, cis, trans, or otherwise, have so many different voices. So saying that any voice is like feminine or masculine or whatever is very weird to me. You know, I guess when you just kind of have those modifiers on like for standards, I don't know, it's weird. Applying anything as feminine or masculine particularly is weird unless the person using that thing is of that persuasion, I guess. I don't know. Places where it's not safe to voice train be places where it's not safe to transition. Yeah, sure, but when they get out of those places, right? If I think it's better to make it more normalized so that they'll be easier accepted as their preferred gender once they are able to transition in the first place, right? Before they do voice training, if they do voice training at all. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to voice train, I'm not saying it's evil or whatever to voice train. I'm just saying that personally, if you don't want to, you shouldn't feel bad about it. If you can't, you definitely shouldn't feel bad about it. And if you don't for normalization reasons, then you are an incredibly cool person. By saying baloney? Oh, how I used to do the deep, like, gravelly voice, the baloney. I think that's a little bit higher than I used to do it. The baloney man. Coming this summer. I think that's a Game Grumps bit, actually. I should be able to get counter damage. 713? 424 on the overall boss, but Jesus Christ. Artorias or Ornstias? I assume Ornstein and Artorias? Personally, I think all of the knights were just kind of in like a polycule, but no. That might be too powerful a thought for some people. Good luck, Anthony, with your college. And thank you for the good stream wishes. That damage is shockingly good. Love Square. Were there 4 of them? Well, okay. The 4 knights and Smo. So I love Pentagon. I love what's the demon thing? The star and the circle? Pentagram. I love Pentagram. Off gives ace vibes? Sure, but like also arrow? I get ace, but I don't know. I think off could take you out on a loving nice date, you know? The lore, I'm pretty sure the lore is that Goff isn't blind. He just had pine resins stuffed in his helmet. And he thought he was blind. One more. There we go. Wow, that was shockingly good. It's not like incredibly amazing or whatever, right? But that's like good damage. He does it anyway because it's fun. That's valid. I agree. I should get more endurance. We're gonna get 20 vitality and then 20 endurance and go from there. Unfortunately, as someone who is lesbian, I don't think I would find Goff or Artorias' voices particularly attractive. Actually, that's not fair. Artorias is a he/him lesbian, so maybe I would find Artorias attractive. With exceptions for the four knights and Smo, of course. Well, I mean, Kieran, but you know, I'm pretty sure she says her name, and I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Kieran. No, I think I looked up the Japanese name for Kieran, and the syllables. What are they called? Hiragana? Katakana? I don't know. I don't know which one they would use for that name. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know anything about Japanese culture anymore, or language, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Kieran. Lautrex voice. I like how lesbians just have exceptions sometimes. It's a very, very common thing in my experience. And it's always like a different kind. Because like, sometimes it's like a himbo, like Laurentius is some lesbian's type. Or like some people is Lautrec. Four kings are hot. I mean, they're also on a polykill, so I get it. Whoa! Why did I jump so high? Do I need the bonfire? Hubris can win out today. I don't think I need the bonfire. Four kinks, huh? That's where we're going with this stream. Okay, yeah, wow. Good damage. And one-shot these guys. I think that was counter damage or instability, one of the two. But, like, that's still good damage. Yeah, even without it. One-shotting these guys is very uncommon. Uh-oh. The moveset still isn't great, but I'll get used to it eventually. Oh my god, let me attack the archer. Jesus. I don't think any more are gonna attack me. That is good damage. Yeah, Pasaka soon. We're attacking Dark Souls 1 hotties. Tester. I'm so sorry that you think that. Like, it's okay. I'm not gonna judge you, but I'm sorry. Look, if you don't think that Solera is poly, you're just wrong. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're monogamous and it's a Solera, but like, he's flirting with so many undead. I think like all of the chosen undead, right? He's 100% poly and he's 100% bisexual. He's your husband, but he's also a lot of other people's husband. Andrew Tate type? That's awful. Chester does seem like Andrew Tate type. That's so true. I hate that. I hate that I think that now. Don't ever say that in my chat again. I can't believe this. Yeah, Solera is very himbo, it's true. Osaka's time. The tiny weird snake man. Most and least likely to buy into Manosphere propaganda. I think it depends on a lot of things, like Artorias. Also, we have the polearm, which will be nice for the Osakas. It's like for Artorias, right? I feel like if you're just going with like standard cis-het understanding of Artorias, then I feel like he would, but because he's he/him lesbian, I don't think he would fall for it very easily. Artorias fan art was your bi-awakening? Yeah. It's a good thing Artorias is a lesbian. It's true. Jester would have attended January 6. Okay, almost accidentally killed all of them, but we're good. Oh, that was a grab attack. Okay, come on. Please. She wanted it. And then I accidentally dodged, and she's like, here. She tried to slap me. But then she realized she wanted it again anyway. Alright. Pansexual for heroic figures in armor. That's valid. I don't know. I feel like there aren't enough chubby girl heroes in armor. But I get it. Pardon me? Oh my god! Okay, we're good. That was, unnecessarily close, but everything's fine. Regret. There's no reason to regret anything. We don't judge you here. Look, you're the one who said it's said their man crush was Chester, okay? I don't think we're to blame here. And it's all true. It's also not slander if it's true. Got it. The Matt scream from the Game Grumps Super Mega Super Mario Party episode. I feel like there are a couple characters who would scream like that. Like Petrus. Petrus seems like cool and calm and collected, whatever, but he would absolutely do the Matt scream if his star got stolen. Heath was definitely. I don't think he was actually. I think it was he wanted to go, but like couldn't attend. He planned it. What is Oscar's role in the game? What are you referring to? Chester would commit defamation? Probably true. Allegedly. Allegedly, Chester would commit defamation. Careful. Don't want to get sued. In my opinion, Chester would commit defamation. Yeah, Seath was being too much of a gooner to actually go to the Capitol on January 6th. I think... I don't think Griggs would go. I think Griggs is too smart to have gone to January 6th. Oh, you're referring to... Okay, I mean... Okay, Solaire is obvious. Artorias, you've already explained. Griggs is interesting. I don't know, he's kind of twinky. I get it, actually. Oops. Oscar, or Asylum Demon is too much of a power bottom for Oscar to handle. I mean, he's a sorcerer. He has to be smart. He's just autistic, you know? Hold him in the palm of my hand. Ricker, doesn't he look pretty similar to Griggs? I don't remember. You don't really get a good look at him, though. I guess because he's behind the bars. Okay, so you're probably too, so you get it. You're married to Oscar and Solaire, so Solaire is also married to a bunch of other people. He just does that. That's like his thing. You can't take that away from him. Stare at a lady's footprints. Oh my god. Owie. Do I need the 30k souls? Probably not. Keith wouldn't believe in vaccines. Probably true. I mean, his entire cave is... okay, if you're not here for streams, usually, you won't understand what I'm referencing, but I don't think YouTube would appreciate it if I said that out loud. I'm sure someone in the chat could clarify what Seath's entire cave is made from. Yeah, the thing giving him the thing giving him his immortality is literally a JO crystal, so I feel like you can determine what the rest of it is. Hey, someone else using the halberd. Wonder if that's someone watching the stream, playing along at home. It'd be cool, actually, to see a ghost of another person, like, using the halberd. It'd be kind of hard to determine because, ghosts are usually a few seconds, or like 30 seconds, a minute or two behind. I don't know. I don't know exactly how ghosts are stored. Doing a Havel run? I don't think I've ever actually done a Havel cosplay run. I've never used the Dragon Tooth. I feel like if I did a Havel run, I'd have to... I mean, it would have to be at least mid-roll, right? I hate playing with mid-roll, though, because it's so slow. But I guess it would make some bosses really easy. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Nine Souls has another game. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of Souls-likes that a lot of people really like that I just don't. Like, Neo, The Surge. I don't know. I didn't find them super fun. So when people recommend Souls-likes that have mechanics that aren't, like, base Dark Souls 1 mechanics, I always get very suspicious of it. But I did also love Thymesia and Steel Rising. I guess Steel Rising is pretty Dark Souls 1-esque, but it has a gun that freezes things that you get in the tutorial that makes the entire game extremely easy. So, I don't know. Steel Rising and Thymesia have been the exception. People call Hollow Knight a Souls-like. Nine Souls is a Souls-like. I did play another Crab's Treasure. I did a challenge run on that in my very first playthrough. I did it without using a shell. I did use a shell in the one place. The oil rig place, I don't remember what it's called, where you get the electricity power up and fight the clam, or I mean the eel rather, the electric eel. I did use a shell there to get through it because I couldn't figure out how to get the fuses to where they needed to go otherwise, but I made a video on that. That was for my first playthrough. I don't know, like Liza P, I'm worried I'm not gonna like because I played the demo and didn't like it. But I will play it, and I will see if I enjoy it. And I'm really, really hoping I do enjoy it, because I like liking things. This isn't bad damage, luckily. Ow. Akira's pretty fun. Your favorite movie? My favorite movie is When Marnie Was There. Very, very underrated Ghibli movie, in my opinion. Very, very good. Has made me cry several times. The demo feels worse than the actual game. I don't know. I did play it like a long, long time ago, like when the demo first became available, so probably, but... yeah, I'll definitely... I mean, I have to try it. You decreed it before I finish my Dark Souls 2 video, so... or series. So I will be doing it eventually. When Marty Was There was based on a book? I didn't know that. I need to read that now. What's it called? God, all Ghibli movies are really, really good though, huh? Obviously the popular ones like Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, very, very, very good movies. But even their like very underrated ones. Like Poco is awesome. Um, Porco Rosso is incredible. Totoro is a super cute movie. God, there's so many good Ghibli movies. Even the ones that people didn't like. I don't know. I liked The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is a very uncommon Ghibli movie. I really, really liked The Wind Rises. The Wind Rises was so good. Anya was really cute. I even liked Only Yesterday. Earthy was fine, but I also haven't read the books, so I don't know how terrible of an adaptation it is. I also haven't watched it in a long time, so that could be a very... that opinion could have changed if I had watched it recently. Iki's Delivery Service is also awesome. Very, 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 very good. The Cat Returns is also really good. Yeah, God, so many good Ghibli movies. It's also called When Marnie Was There. Yeah, okay. I will see if I can get a hold of a copy of it. Probably a PDF or audiobook if I can. I think I started reading the first Earthsea book actually, but I didn't get like hooked by it instantly. So I didn't read too much of it. But yeah, I've heard it's really good and want to get into it. Maybe you can find a series. So in 2020, before I transitioned, before I knew anything about like Harry Potter or whatever, I bought the audiobooks on Audible, and binged the series during like Christmas time-ish, while I was at work. And then I would do that every year. I would binge the entire series around Christmas time before I, figured out everything about Harry Potter. So like 3 years later, I listened to it for the last time since then, right? I think in 2023 was the last time I did that. But I don't think it was at Christmas time, actually. I don't know. I listened to the series one last time, is my point. And I've been trying to find a replacement, just a whole series to binge during Christmas time. Because every time Christmas time comes around, it's like, damn, I really want to listen to Harry Potter, even though I know it sucks. Like, it's terrible, but it's such a comfort thing. So, I don't know, maybe Percy would be enjoyable. Awesome when you were in 2nd grade, true. Yeah, I want to watch all the Ghibli movies. I didn't love Grave of the Fireflies. I don't think I ever finished that one. And I also never finished The Boy and the Heron because I fell asleep in the middle of it. Yeah, I would, if you haven't seen any Ghibli movies, I highly recommend them. I don't know, there are a lot of better things in Harry Potter that you can appreciate for its flaws. Ocarina of Time is a wonderful example of that. I love that game because of its like weird glitches and stuff. Oh my god. Marnie, when Marnie was there, became so much more sad when I figured out I was a lesbian. You have no idea. I'll be right back. I need to use the restroom. Then I will continue the speech I was having. Okay, I much better now. The Demon Spear? I don't know. That's a very interesting opinion. I think the Demon Spear is kind of... like, the Demon Spear is longer, but... Halberd definitely does more damage. Right, let's see. Try to read what I missed. Yeah, I don't know. I want to find something to replace my binging of Harry Potter, but I haven't found anything yet, and I just kind of haven't been binging anything. I would binge the Wandering Inn because that's my favorite audiobook series ever. But unfortunately, I am about or unfortunately, it's very, very long. The first book alone is 50 hours, I think. So highly, highly recommend The Wandering Inn if you haven't read it yet. And the audiobooks are so, so good. The first 15 volumes are narrated by Andrea Parsnow, and the next volumes are going to be, or 16 and beyond, are going to be narrated by someone different, which is really a shame because I loved Andrea's performances, and I just associate the characters with her voices. But I'm sure the next narrator will also be incredible because it's the same like publisher handling the narration and stuff, right? So. Demon Spear is ugly? No. Ornstein Spear is also not super great. Why are you more successful with men than women? I'm gonna be honest. In my experience, men are easier. Much, much easier. I don't think that's like a negative on you. It just happens to be that men are easier than women most of the time. Flesh-colored branch. Yeah, that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be like gross and weird looking, but I don't think it's ugly. I think it's cool. Artemis Fowl. Isn't that... I don't know, actually. I've heard things about it. But I don't know. None of what Artemis Fowl is has really stuck in my mind. I would talk to a lot of people who were like super, super into Percy Jackson. And I read the first series and the first couple books of the second series. And then the third book, I couldn't find an audiobook for. And I just never ended up like looking again or anything. So I have not finished Percy Jackson, but I did enjoy it. Not all the boss weapons are bad. I mean, like, all of Artorias' swords are pretty good. The only exception being the cursed variant being better than the not cursed variant, is because the damage and scaling for it is better. On top of having that extra capability of being cursed. But like the Abyss Greatsword is also really good. Ornstein's Hammer is pretty good. Very fun weapon to use. Sorry, Ornstein's Hammer. Jesus Christ. I fell for it. Damn it. Smo's Hammer is also very good. What other boss weapons are there? The Ring Shield is funny. Let me think. What other boss weapons? Jesus, what other boss weapons are there? The Manus Catalyst is really fun to use, and also a very, very good catalyst. The best one in the game for Dark Sorcery is obviously because of the scaling. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of really good boss weapons. A lot of really terrible boss weapons. I don't know. I mean, 18 intelligence and faith really isn't that high to deal with, in my opinion. Oh, the tail cuts. I would count those as boss weapons. The Dragon King Great Axe is incredible. I've heard very good things about the Obsidian Greatsword. I've heard very good things about... Or the Moonlight Greatsword is fun. Not super great, but it's fun. You're cooked. The best boss weapon? I would probably give that to Artorias' Greatsword, the cursed variant of Artorias' Greatsword. But I haven't used all of them, so I couldn't tell you for certain. The Iron Golem Axe is okay. It's a little underwhelming, if I'm being honest, but it's fine. Oops. Immense skill issue on my part. Where am I? Okay. Easiest grab attack in the game to dodge. Oh my god, if you would ever stop moving, please? Jesus Christ. Stop it. Let me attack. Really? Oh my goodness. Come here and stop moving. This is the most aggressive I've ever seen the Centipede Demon. Oh my goodness. The Centipede Demon. What the hell? This is the only boss I beat Deathless in my very first playthrough. I didn't even do that with like Taurus Demon or Asylum Demon. That was the only boss in my first playthrough that I never died to. And I just died to the Centipede Demon? So unfortunate. Why was it being so aggressive? I've never seen that. PvPers would say Moonlight Greatsword or Chaos Blade. Chaos Blade! I completely forgot about the Chaos Blade. That's on me. I'm gonna be honest. Chaos Blade is definitely the best boss weapon. It's not even close. The Chaos Blade is insane. It does a stupid amount of damage. What happens to Raven every time? Probably true. Probably why she hates the fight. The running attack is better. I mean, 4 King can be hard in certain builds. There we go. If I just use my moveset properly instead of trying to spam the R1. Jesus. I guess if you don't play the game, Centipede Demon is pretty difficult, huh? But if you actually engage with its mechanics, it's not that bad to hit. Okay, I'm coming around on the Halberd just because of that. Like, I hate the thrusting moveset, but the running attack is extremely useful there. The R2 is also very good for crowds if you have the time to get it off. Also, shockingly good DPS on it. Oops. Skill issue on my part. There you go. Absolutely Chaos Blade over Fury Sword. Fury Sword is fine, but the damage that the Chaos Blade outputs is unmatched. And if you can deal with the health loss, like, it's no contest. Centipede Demon gets you when you least expect it. I don't know. I think for me, it gets me when I'm not paying attention and just trying to R1 spam. Yeah, I didn't notice my health was so low. I almost didn't. If you stand in the corner, it'll come a lot closer to the platform, and you can lure it on way, way easier like that. Chaos Blade is, like, unfair. True. It's stupidly powerful. I mean, yeah, Chaos Blade is just a katana, but when most weapons are just, like, normal, normal medieval weapons, I feel like a normal katana moveset is still pretty interesting, right? Like, I like the Halberd movesets, and they're combinations of poleaxe, spear, and full hammers, right? I don't know. Auto damage is annoying, I guess, but if you, I don't know, if you can deal with it and understand how to deal with it properly, I don't think it's that much of an issue. When I used the Fury Sword, when I did the stream with that, I'm pretty sure I had 10 humanity the whole stream once I got the sword. So, even with the humanity scaling, I don't think it's super great. Using poise to get off R2 in the crowd, that's that's genius. I don't use poise very often. Like, obviously I got the wolf ring, but I very rarely do that. Yeah, true. Black Knight Katana. I mean, there's the Black Steel Katana. That's close enough. I know it's not a Black Knight weapon at all, but it has a black in the name, so it's like, it's really good, so it's close enough. Lost Izalith is vastly overhated, I'm gonna be honest. The lava field is boring, and that's the only negative part of Lost Izalith. The demonic statues being all over the place makes sense as like a infantry that they created to protect Izalith. The Chaos Eaters are a very interesting design, despite them being easy, but like, whatever. It's super fun to explore, especially once you get into like the maze area down at the bottom. I don't know. I love Lost Izalith. I think it's a really cool, interesting level. It is very overhated. Crystal Uchi is 1 more damage than Chaos Blade. Yeah, but Chaos Blade is a lot easier to get and a lot easier to build for, right? So, I don't know. I like the Chaos Blade regardless of damage, and plus you don't have to deal with the crystal garbage. And Demon Titanite is easier to get, in my opinion, than Titanite chunks. What area is worse than Lost Izalith? The Crystal Caves. Hardly an area, but I would say they're definitely worse. Oh, I'm not wearing Favor and Protection. Should I even wear Favor and Protection? Oh, it's overrated, and I'm gonna prove that. Tomb of the Giants is awesome. I love Tomb of the Giants. I think it's a really fun level to explore. So that might just be because I've explored every level, every other level in the game, every nook and cranny of it. And the only reason I haven't done well with that and haven't memorized the Tomb of the Giants completely yet is because it's dark. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting gimmick that they did well. The goobring joke finally died. I kind of forgot about that. I'm going to be honest. It's been a while. The goobring. I still think it's a very overrated ring. I've never not thought that. It's just easy to get, so I usually put it on. Yeah, feel free to post, I mean, anything in the Discord as long as it's like not, you know, breaking terms of service or whatever. There are appropriate channels for pretty much anything you want to post. Speaking of, if you are not aware, I have a Discord. There's a link to it in the description. I suck at timing this dodge. Never mind. It isn't good or bad to you. That's how I feel about a lot of bosses that people say are bad because they're easy. Like Pinwheel. If you go in early, I think it's a super fun, interesting boss. But even then, like, even if it's easy, I still think it's a really interesting and fun boss, right? Great Shield and Halberd poker. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common. I mean, usually it's like the Lightning Spear or whatever, right? For a while, and then you switch to, I don't know. Probably get that pike really easily, the partisan. I don't know. Once you understand that lightning isn't super great. Or just uninfusing the spear, I can't imagine is super uncommon, right? But Halberd shield poking probably isn't super uncommon either way. Whoa. Pinwheel is the hardest boss in the game. Unironically, with low damage, I think Pinwheel would be one of, if not the hardest boss in the game to kill with just bare fists. Either Pinwheel or Nito. Cookie Bombs? Is that the firebomb cheese for Bed of Chaos? Lawrence? What is Lawrence? Are you referring to the pole hammer? I can't remember what it's called. That weapon is really good. I think it has very similar damage to the Halberd, actually. Yeah, I really like the Bed of Chaos. I think it's a really interesting gimmick boss. Like, I'm not going to say it's the best boss in the game or whatever, but it's definitely not a bad boss. It's just different from other bosses, and you need to learn to fight it differently. I'm going to be honest, I don't think Pinwheel needs more damage at all. He does insane damage. It's just like his second phase goes away too quickly. If he was invincible while summoning, he would be so much more of an interesting boss, even without the health buff. Like, the health buff would make it a genuinely, like, really interesting, good boss, but even if he was just invincible while summoning, he would be a lot more fun of a fight. Yeah, Lucerne. Lucerne is a very fun weapon. I really enjoyed that playthrough. Also, the thumbnail for the Lucerne is probably my favorite thumbnail on my channel, so I might be a little bit biased. But the Lucerne is, regardless, a very good weapon. Ouch. Pardon me. Pinwheel has a meaner combo than Minus. That's true. It's ice cream into the ground. Hey, if you get hit by those fireballs and stagger locked, or like into the flamethrower, will obliterate you. No matter what level you are. It hurts. Just don't get hit by the flamethrower and you'll probably be good. Honestly, yeah, if Pinwheel had like a melee attack, more health, and was invincible while summoning, I think it'd be a lot more interesting of a fight. Which I feel like they tried to do with the Crystal Sage, but they failed. Because Crystal Sage has way too many really annoying attacks and does way too much damage for how many clones it has instantly. Because like having the 8 clones in the second phase, so you barely have to deal with it, right? As opposed to the 5 clones as soon as you hit the second phase, and you're probably going to be doing less damage by the time you get there in the game. I feel like the Crystal Sage tried to redeem the Pinwheel idea and didn't do a super great job with it. Yeah, all of the thumbnails Nikki has drawn for me are incredible. Nikki is a wonderful artist. Which one is the goob ring? The ring of favor and protection? Is it the one that goobs your goob? It is, yeah. I mean, sure, you can suggest however many changes you want. I think just the invincibility would make him a vastly better fight. But like, for his peak interestingness, higher health and melee would add a lot, I think. Crystal Sage is your least favorite? I wouldn't go that far. He's kind of inoffensive to me, I think. I don't know. Crystal Sage, you do a couple hits and then he dies. If you have like a +3, you can easily get a +4. You can get a +6 before fighting Crystal Sage. But like worst case scenario, you shred him instantly, or shred her instantly. I highly recommend playing through Dark Souls Remastered. I'm happy to be a temptress in that way, as much as I am usually called a temptress in another way. It's boring? Crystal Sage being boring is an interesting take. I think it's very difficult only because of how much damage the clones do with a couple of their attacks. Especially the one where the crystals just appear on the ground. That one's so annoying. Awful. I mean, there's a bonfire halfway through the catacombs, and if you understand like how to get through the catacombs quickly, it would be a very short run back. And I think more people would learn the fast route through the catacombs if pinwheel's harder, right? So, I don't know. I would say if anything, a harder pinwheel would lead to a more interesting run back at worst. It's hard to say that... Well, I don't know. I haven't heard much of Pinwheel's music just because I died to him really quick, but it is a really interesting theme that does really well with the idea of what Pinwheel is and everything, and how it like really pushes that horror theme. Like at the bottom of the catacombs, this weird mad scientist is trying to replicate the god of death. So I do think that the music has great vibes with that, but I haven't heard enough of it to say whether or not I particularly enjoy it as music as opposed to as a vibe setter, right? Crystal Sage for Henri's questline? Why is that funny? I mean, I've done Henri's questline, obviously, but I don't know why that would be funny. Also, does that fireball do physical damage? Why did it block so much? Oh, he appeared on the balcony. That's unfortunate. Oh my god, no scream? Nito being nice today? That's crazy. I mean, do you blame us? Strong women are hot. I want a chance. Now. God damn it, Pinwheel. Pinwheel, Nito. God damn it, Nito. Oh yeah, Rhea and I were playing Dark Souls 3 Seamless. And I died very early into the Crystal Sage fight because I wasn't paying attention. You're awake. Whoa, go away. And she ended up beating the entire second phase on her own, which was really impressive. Wow, that counter damage is insane, actually. Stop it. Let me out. No. When I see a woman, lesbian. This big pinwheel. True. I mean, Pinwheel tried to be small Nito, at least. Same thing, though. It goes both ways. Nito walked so Pinwheel could crawl. I don't know. I think Pinwheel would be a more interesting fight if it had a couple of changes, or even just more health, right? I don't know. I think Pinwheel would be a better fight, in my opinion. Gravelord Pinwheel. I don't know. I've had issues with Crystal Sage just because the laser beam that makes the crystals just like appear on the ground, the White Dragon Breath-esque attack, does an insane amount of damage. And you can get comboed with it. And it just appears, right? there's not really any way to see it coming unless you're actively watching all the clones, which isn't exactly feasible. Not a single person in this stream chat who is a regular at my streams will hear you out on Seath. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Seath is absolutely not a good hear me out around here. and the people who will hear you out are already deep into that rabbit hole. Okay, no scream off the bat this time again. Seath is, like, especially juxtaposed with the Pasakas. Like, are you kidding me? The Pasakas are just better Seath. And they're women? That's just better. I'm sorry. Calamite, on the other hand. I will absolutely hear you out, no question. 100 damage. More evidence that the cloak is just a pocket dimension, by the way, because that definitely should have hit him. Too much of a loser and not in a good way. Yeah. He's Republican loser, not cute nerd boy loser. And as someone who's not into men, I understand. Oh god. Be fortunate. Alemi isn't any pronouns lesbian. I don't know if we agreed on lesbian, but we did definitely agree on any pronouns. But yeah, I understand the lesbian, for sure. Teeth is not bodacious. I love Sen. Sen is a really good boss. Lesbian biased, so that's not a good point. I mean, sure. DLC time, huh? That was fast. That felt fast, anyway. 20 minutes for a bit of chaos and, you know. Sen is your favorite Dark Souls 2 boss? I get it. That's valid. Not my personal favorite, but definitely understandable. DLC for Calamite getting a BBL. It's already out. You just can't see it. You're just blinded. Teeth is flat as a board. Teeth isn't twinky enough. What weapons would I recommend for a Dark Souls 3 playthrough? It kind of depends. I've had a lot of fun with a lot of weapons in Dark Souls 3. Fair and Greatsword is a classic. The Sellsword Twin Blades are one of the best weapons in the game, and a starting class has them. I don't remember which one. Most Great Hammers in that game are very fun. I really like the, what is it called? The Gargoyle Flame Hammer is really fun. The Great Club is also really fun, obviously. The Drang Hammers I'm using in my most recent playthrough, and I'm really enjoying that. The Corvian Great Scythe is really fun if you don't have a problem with grinding it out pretty early on. A lot of really fun weapons in Dark Souls 3. There are also a lot of weapons that are like, oh, this is so cool, but it sucks. Like the Dancer Sword. Actually, most of the cool boss weapons are like that. There are a couple really fun boss weapons that aren't like that. Like I said, the Fair and Great Sword. The Dragon Slayer's Great Axe is pretty fun. But, I don't know. Boss weapons are underwhelming in Dark Souls 3. I'm gonna be honest with... I have such backwards takes from the majority of people on Dark Souls 2. I love it. I think at this point it's like neck and neck with Dark Souls 1 for my favorite Dark Souls game. I'm genuinely confused as to where to put it. Because I've been playing it a lot more recently. It has a lot of really cool weapons, a lot of really fun bosses. I think... Well, I don't know. I used to think that DLC level design was the worst part of the game. Now, after playing it again, and really just like accepting it as it was, I enjoyed it a lot more. I loved it. But Fume is so easy. Fume is such a easy, boring boss to me. That's exactly how I felt about Gale in my first few playthroughs of Dark Souls 3 as well. Gale and Fume are very easy fights that are very, very overblown in their difficulty. Fume is nowhere near the hardest boss in Dark Souls 2. I would easily give that to, like, I don't know, like even a mini boss like Twin Dragon, or rather not Twin Dragon Riders. Twin Pursuers I find vastly harder. I think Rotten, who is not hard, by the way, harder. I find Rotten harder than Fume, personally. Alan is also not super difficult. The run back makes it harder than it needs to be. Oops, that's not good. Okay, Alan, you just like dodge to the right for most of his attacks. Once you learn the Alan fight, it's very, very simple. Very easy, in my opinion. Though, learning it can be really difficult. And I think they're relatively underwhelming fights, as much as I did like them. That's crazy. I was not expecting a one-shot tail cut. That's wild. I love Luddensallen, like I mentioned earlier. I don't even think I died to Fume maybe once or twice in my first playthrough. My most recent playthrough, I did it first try. Super easily. I do not understand why people think Fume is so difficult. Crossbreed Priscilla, she is probably the hottest character in all of Dark Souls. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Dark Souls 2 DLC is really good, but my opinion on the bosses is the exact opposite, right? From most people. Love Luddensallen, don't necessarily like Fume or Alan. I think the Alan run back is worse than the Luddensallen run back. They're not, neither of them are particularly difficult, but I just find the Alan one less fun and more annoying. Trolva is the best DLC, which is really common of an opinion. And I think Alana is one of the best bosses in the series. So I don't know how common that is, but definitely not as uncommon as enjoying Luddensallen. Honestly, it's not even that Dark Souls 3 ignored Dark Souls 2. Like, I think it could have been its own thing. It's that it didn't ignore Dark Souls 1. If it had ignored Dark Souls 1 and 2, like Dark Souls 2 ignored Dark Souls 1, I think it could have been a really interesting, like, addition to the story with, like, maybe a couple random callbacks. Like, if the Demon Ruins was the only reference to Dark Souls 1, I think it would have been a lot more interesting, right? Of course I'm gay. What did you expect? Something weird about Fume's timings. I guess like the sword hitting kind of behind him with a lot of his attacks, or the broadsword, or I mean his offhand weapon in his first phase can be really difficult to get your head around, but I don't know. Ah, owie. I got snipped. Free bottom surgery? Thanks. I mean, honestly, Dark Souls 2 reviews at release weren't that bad. It was mostly YouTubers, right? Matthew Matosa, Smaller. Like, the things they did to Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 2's reputation, especially, I'm gonna be honest, I love Dark Souls 3. I am a Dark Souls 3 enjoyer. However, the vast majority of Dark Souls 3 enjoyers are people who would like Mauler's content. Which is very unfortunate. So I feel like that crowd that came in with Dark Souls 3 and especially Elden Ring are a lot more likely, maybe not Elden Ring as much, but the people that came in with Dark Souls 3 are a lot more likely to specifically dislike Dark Souls 2 because of their media preferences and also because of skill issue. And because it's so different from Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, right? Going into Dark Souls 2 expecting Dark Souls 3 just is a terrible experience. I would say going into Dark Souls 2 expecting Dark Souls 1 is also a pretty terrible experience. Blue Smelter is awesome. Like, lore-wise, it makes sense, but it's a very funny boss, I would agree. Mr. Frida enjoys as a boss fight or as a girl? Because yes to both. I think Frida, once you understand that you can fight her... Oh my god, wait. You're already buffing? I don't think I'm going to knock him out of this. Once you understand that you can fight Sister Frida, like Alemi, where you're rolling away from most of the attacks, and some of the attacks you can roll into to get some extra damage, like, once you understand that that's how you can fight it, at least for me, for someone who loves Calamite, I think Sister Frida becomes a much, much better fight. Very, very similar fight to Calamite in terms of how you go about it, right? Too aggressive. Oh my god. He almost two-shot me. That would have been unfortunate. Imagine dying to Artorias. Couldn't be me. I beat this guy with a Ghost Blade. I should be good at this fight by now. That was very, very greedy. Oh my goodness. Okay, good. Wait, that wasn't a buff roll? Okay. That's fine. I am attempting to pay attention to the video game, unfortunately, but I will try to catch up on chat later. As soon as I'm done with the fight. The inbred one? That's fucked up. There are so many really cool things about Dark Souls 2 that people hate, like the world layout. How they specifically put Kale in the first area, who is a character dedicated to understanding the geography of Drang Lake, to specifically bring attention to the fact that Drang Lake's geography makes no sense. That's such a cool detail, and I've never heard anyone mention it. And so many people hate the geography of Dark Souls 2 because it's not perfectly interconnected and logical like Dark Souls 1, right? I think the second half bosses in Dark Souls 3 are a lot better than the first half, personally. But it's also just a very different style of game from Dark Souls 1 and 2. So if you don't like it just because of that, like, that's why I didn't like it for a long time. Did I hit the shortcut? I don't even remember. I'm going to this time if I didn't. I just forgot it existed. I don't know. I feel like if you start with Dark Souls 2, you're gonna like and enjoy it. No, other way around. If you start with Elden Ring and enjoy it, you're gonna like Dark Souls 2 more than the average Dark Souls 3 fan. But if you start with Dark Souls 2 and enjoy it and then go to Elden Ring, I think you're gonna enjoy it less than the average like Dark Souls 3 fan. I don't know. Or new players to Elden Ring, right? Dark Souls 3 is missing vibes, true. Missing Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2 vibes for sure. Bloodborne especially. And Demon Souls have incredible vibes. Artorias is your favorite Dark Souls 1 fight? You know what, I get that if you had like one playthrough. If you played the game less than a dozen times, I understand having Artorias as your favorite fight. Otherwise, I think it's relatively underwhelming, all things considered. Pardon me. Okay, let me catch up on chat a little bit. Dark Souls 2 took Dark Souls 1 and did something with it? I would highly disagree. They are very, very different games in a lot of ways. Okay, I did hit the shortcut. And I think comparing them like that doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. Yeah, Dark Souls 3 took Dark Souls 1 and turned it into nostalgia bait. Okay, let me... I don't even know how many souls I had. Probably not many, actually. Oh, 42k. Okay, I'm glad I grabbed them then. I don't think I'm going to have the chance to do an R2 here. With Manus, like, the circle attack is probably going to be my best opportunity for that. Dark Souls 2 is kind of a dream world. Like... I mean, kind of. It's a fiction... Well, I don't know. It's a world dreamed up by the Emerald Herald, like how the paintings are, like, not real, right? I think that's the best way I've heard it described. But it's also near the First Flame. Well, it's also not, like, completely fake. It has overlap with the real world. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I mean, Drang Lake is Lordran, but a long time ago. Or, I mean, a long time in the future. And then Dark Souls 3 decided that Enrolando should get up from Lordran, which doesn't exist anymore, and walk to Lothric. Artorias is such a boring fight, though. I'm a little bit behind on chat because people are talking fast. I think Artorias is a really boring fight after the first couple times you do it, because it's like the exact same every time. There are no interesting switch-ups besides the buff. And then it's like, if you do high poise damage, you just run up to him and smack him a couple times. And if you don't, he buffs and does a little bit more damage. And I don't think that's super interesting. He feels very samey every single time you fight him. Same is true of Manus, but Manus feels a lot more engaging because of the dark attacks, I think. Especially because, like, the circle attack is kind of rare. You can use the pendant if you want, and if not, like, it completely changes the fight and its dynamics, right? So, like, even Manus, I think, is a lot more interesting of a fight. Calamite has a hugely varied attack pool, which I think makes Calamite much more interesting than Artorias as well. You already know my thoughts on Sanctuary Guardian. There's a lot of messy lore with the Emerald Herald and her, like, creation, quote-unquote, of Drang Lake. It's more than that. It's not, like, exactly how you would describe it. But, like, that's the easiest way I can describe it. You think Dark Souls 2 looks worse than Dark Souls 1? I would highly disagree. An Old King a lot cosplay run for Demon Souls? I think that'd be really fun. Um, I think Dark Souls 2 looks really, really great. Best fight for combat fundamentals. I mean, I guess it's forcing you to be like get good at the combat fundamentals, right? Which really prepares you for Manus. That's fair. I just think that on its own, it's not as interesting as Manus, Calamite, Sanctuary Guardian. Even like I think Four Kings is more interesting. Ornstein and Smo test a different skill than most other bosses. Pepper Demon is a really interesting puzzle, right? Whereas Artorias is like just be good at fighting. Which, don't get me wrong, is very fun and is fun. I think it's a really good boss. I just don't think it's anywhere near my favorite. Yeah, Drang Lake is in the same land as Lordran. Okay. Aged Feather description? I haven't read. I don't read item descriptions in Dark Souls. I should do that. And people are typing fast today. I like to respond to most, if not all, chat messages, but I don't know if that's very feasible right now. A lot more people than usual. It's really cool. Manus is your favorite fight in Dark Souls 1? I would probably agree if I didn't hate learning Manus in the first fight in the first place. Learning Manus was my least favorite part of Dark Souls 1 because it was the only boss that felt like trial and error at all. For a couple of the attacks, like the combo, you just have to learn to not be aggressive from neutral if you have a slower weapon, right? So I don't think learning Manus, and like I play the game differently from most people, right? I do challenge runs and stuff. But like learning Manus in the context of a challenge run is very different from learning Manus casually. But learning Manus in the context of how I play the game was a very different experience from the other bosses, and because of that, I disliked it. Like I think if Manus was in like Elden Ring, I would like it a lot more compared to most bosses in Elden Ring. But like Manus also just doesn't fit in Elden Ring, you know? I don't know. I get it though. I see where you're coming from for sure. Manus is very fun. Capra Demon, not liking Capra Demon is a skill issue. That's incredibly based. I agree. I mean, I don't think it's a skill issue. I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how you're meant to play the game, but calling it a skill issue is funnier. One shot. Okay. Dark Souls 2 is very colorful. A lot of the armor sets in Dark Souls 2 look incredible. I love Dark Souls 2's armor. I think it's the best looking armor in the series by far. Like ignoring style, obviously, because I know a lot of people like Bloodborne's armor for its style, which you just don't really get in Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, and it's kind of incomparable in my opinion. But just for like how they presented the armor sets, I think Dark Souls 2 did it best by far. Dark Souls 3 has some cool looking armor sets, like Fallen Knight set looks really good. Herald set looks really good. A lot of really good looking armor sets in Dark Souls 3, but I think Dark Souls 2 just styled them a lot better in a lot of instances. No. Okay. The length is really good. Yeah. Dark Souls 3 being desaturated makes sense, but it's unfortunate. I don't think it looks super great. Yeah, the sorceress here is very high damage. Very painful. Ring set in Dark Souls 3. I was using that in the playthrough I just started with Rhea, actually. Or just started for like 9 hours in, but I was using that for a while, and I'm using the Drang Hammers, and it does look pretty nice. There are a lot of weapon classes you can power stance in Dark Souls 2. You can do a Greatsword and Broadsword, or Greatsword and Greatsword. That's one of my favorite combos. Straight Sword and Curved Sword, Rapier and Curved Sword. Hammer and Straight Sword is really fun. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to have top chat up on the stream just in case. I didn't mean to go Glass Cannon build. I just haven't been, or I just wanted damage soft caps before upgrading health. I guess I could put on Favor and Protection to mitigate that, or like armor. But that's for cowards. Oops, that's unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of really cool power sensing options in Dark Souls 2, which Dark Souls 3 just decided to pretend doesn't exist, which is awesome. You also have a more limited moveset when you're power stancing in Elden Ring, which is unfortunate because you don't have a power stance button. You're either power stancing or you're not holding a weapon of the same class in your left hand. And I believe the Elden Ring power stancing also doesn't allow for asymmetrical power stancing, but I don't quite remember that. So don't take what I say for sure. You don't like the Duke's Archives? That's wild. The Duke's Archives, in my opinion, is the best of the four Lord areas level design-wise. There are a lot of really cool things in the other areas, and I do like all of them for different reasons, but I think Duke's Archives is the most interesting to explore. New Night Rain boss, 3 menaces. 3 fucking menaces. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm being honest. That's kind of what the dogs feel like. Oops, that was really... the final boss in the network test kind of felt like 3 menaces at times. Very, very fast bosses that were all... Oh my god. Counter damage. That's what we like to see. That's why we get the Leo ring. Oh my god. Okay. Next time I do a thrusting weapon, absolutely 100% getting the Leo ring. I'm sorry for besmirching your name. Okay. I'm kind of surprised that was a safe heal, actually. I still don't like thrusting movesets, but I do think the moveset of the Halberd is very versatile and very useful. Locking on makes thrusting movesets worse, though, to be fair. So my specific playstyle is the problem here, I think. Oh. Okay. But only with specific weapons in Elden Ring? Okay, so you can't do a ton of mixing and matching like you can in Dark Souls 2. That's unfortunate. I hate how Dark Souls 1 and 3, or Dark Souls 3, rather, and Elden Ring changed power stancing, because it was such a cool mechanic that everybody loved. And how Dark Souls 3 only has power stancing on very specific weapons, and they're a lot less varied than weapons you could power stance in Dark Souls 2. Even with, like, the same weapon class, you just have fewer moves when you're two-handing a power stance weapon, and you can't two-hand one of the two if you happen to want to do that like you can in Dark Souls 2. So it's inclusion of two-handed weapons even were just not as interesting in my opinion. Leo Ring works with great bows? How did I not? Wait, are you telling me I could have done more damage? I wonder if hyper mode... Okay, well, after this stream, I'm going to test the composite bow to see if hyper mode does more damage or Leo Ring plus RTSR. I think overall... Or, sorry, rather than hyper mode, as opposed to Leo Ring and RTSR. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I'm sure that just because of how your damage opportunities will line up, that hyper mode will still be better in terms of overall DPS, but Leo Ring with RTSR would probably be a lot easier to set up and a lot easier to use. Especially once you get to Gwyn, then you wouldn't have to worry about not having health. So an overall playthrough like that would be a lot more fun.
You sorry fool.
I would do Calamy if it wasn't such a long run. The bisexual male. I hate thrusting weapons. Not advised to finish the joke. Okay. Yeah. I kind of want to do Calamy actually. Let's go do Calamy. I am, however, going to open up DSR gadget so I don't have to go grab the key and do all the running really slowly. Myself the quest key. Okay. You furry soul, you could not be the chosen one. Hyper mode is better, but Leo Ring is cooler. Yeah, Leo Ring is also more versatile because you don't have to be cursed and you don't have to have super low HP. Lock on in Dark Souls 1 is super useful. The game is specifically built around having the 4-directional rolling. Like, it is explicitly built around that. The gargoyles being on the roof and being your first gank fight very obviously teaches you that you should not be locked on in group fights in a way a lot more interesting than how Dark Souls 3 neglects to even create a lesson there, and how... I mean, Dark Souls 2 does it well, as in my opinion, too, with, like, Ruin Sentinels being one of the earliest group fights or whatever, but I think Dark Souls 1 not having omnidirectional rolling makes that lesson stick a lot better. Oh my god, somebody commented before the stream, like 30 minutes before the stream, I think. They commented that for a Framped cosplay, so I could name a character Frampton Kingseeker, they said that I should cosplay Strayed from Dark Souls 2, which is such a good idea. I'm so upset that I didn't think of that myself. Cosplaying Strayed for a Framped cosplay is such a good idea. That's absolutely 100% what I'm going to do for that. I'll probably do it in Dark Souls 2 specifically, though. The problem with omnidirectional rolling is it prevents you from learning the fact that you're not supposed to use lock-on in certain scenarios. On top of the fact that in every scenario where you're supposed to use lock-on, or where the game expects you to use lock-on, right? In scenarios where omnidirectional rolling, or they are scenarios where omnidirectional rolling wouldn't be useful, right? So against, for instance, Manus, the game very clearly expects you to use omnidirectional, or rather to use lock-on. Because all of his attacks are easier to dodge when you can only dodge in the 4 directions, on top of being just a giant circle arena, right? Same with Artorias. The game, it's a one-on-one fight in a giant circular arena with no obstacles. So obviously the game expects you to use a lock-on, and all of his attacks are easier to dodge when you have 4-directional rolling. You can only fight them one by one if you have really high DPS. You would have to kill the second one really, really quickly before the third one comes up. Evil Ghostwat. Hello, Strayed. If Dark Souls 1 is your very first ARPG, you're going to naturally understand that using lock-on in group fights isn't a good idea, right? As opposed to Dark Souls 3, where lock-on makes it so much easier to aim all your attacks. You're just not gonna learn that lesson. If you're like not already good at camera control, you're not gonna understand that that's a skill you need to learn. Also, my god, that's crazy damage. For Calamy, when I'm not even using strike damage, that's wild. Wow. Calamy's a hard boss. My god. Fire longsword +1 was enough to fight them one by one. I've definitely never been able to fight them one by one with a non like +6 at least. But I also haven't used like strike weapons or whatever. I don't know if they're weak to fire. Well, the reason I don't do the tail cut is because you can't bait out the tail slam if the tail is gone. Also, wow, I'm doing terribly. My god. So if he does the glide, the tail slam is a huge opportunity to get a ton of damage, as opposed to if you cut off the tail, then you don't have that opportunity. Whoa. That's unfortunate. It's not that I don't want to cut the tail, it's that the fight is much easier if you don't cut the tail. Unfortunate. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to my positioning. 9 more days for Night Rain. Very excited for that. Imaginary technique, tinnitus. True. I'm still not good at discerning between the tinnitus attack and the standing flame attack, to be honest. I feel like I should be better at it by now, but I'm just not. The Abyss 28? I don't think I lost to the Abyss that many times. What about the wings being the difference? I am absolutely 100% using the Duchess for Night Rain. I had so much fun with that class in the network test. Very, very fun class to use, and very much my, like, archetype in terms of how I prefer to play the game. Gonna eat the Abyss. Oh, the humanity. Whatever's closest to Eileen. I think that would be the Duchess, right? Or, well, actually, I don't know. I haven't seen the new classes, huh? But yeah, if you do the tail cut, he won't do that tail slam. Which means he will stand up faster and you'll get less of a damage opportunity. Wow, that damage is wild. Granted, I'm used to using terrible weapons against Calamite because I only usually fight him in challenge runs, not in like streams, but that's crazy damage either way. What the? I don't know why I expected this attack off that animation. Okay. Well, skill issue on my part, I suppose. Whichever class has a big ass sword. That would be the I don't remember what it's called. It was one of the starting classes in the network test though. I streamed the network test. It's just that YouTube doesn't recommend games that aren't Dark Souls 1 to my audience. Well, I guess I don't think you were watching around the time I did that either. So. He doesn't spread their wings until he... Maybe. I don't know, to be honest. Oh, wait. Greed didn't pay off. Go. Much better Calamite fight that time. Yeah, Guardian, I think. No, Guardian was the bird guy, wasn't it? He has the Halberd. John Night Rain class, yeah, exactly. Okay, let me go ahead and warp. With a DSR gadget. Okay. I'll have to do a smoke playthrough. I wish you luck. Yeah, Wilder, that's the one. Yeah, Gwyn time. Plin. You plin on my plin till I plin. I mean, there are similar... I mean, there are weapons with attacks that are effectively Ashes of War, right? The dragon weapons have that. Ornstein Spear. The Crystal Ring Shield, right? So... I don't understand. I don't blame you for not being super coherent with typing on mobile. Typing on mobile can be annoying. I don't know. I don't specifically look at parts of animations for tells. I usually, well, it depends on the boss, but usually I just get a vibe for it and just go with it. That works for most bosses in my experience. That's what I do. But durability, just get repair powder. I don't know. Get the repair spell. Actually, getting the repair spell makes using special weapons a lot more fun, to be honest. Risk of Night Rain. I mean, there are so many drops that not getting a weapon you want to use is very uncommon. Every single playthrough I did of Night Rain in the network test, I think I didn't get a weapon I wanted once. I shouldn't have two-handed. Oh my god. That's good damage. Yeah, just get 5 copies of the weapon. That'll work. Okay, fake big bump. That's crazy damage even without the two-hand. The Lord on my Gwyn my center. Yeah, Dark Souls 1 durability is unfortunate. I wish it was a more, like, fleshed out mechanic, for sure. But Dark Souls 2 durability is my favorite, obviously, because it's the only one that's actually a mechanic. Like, even you get Eastwood Grain Ring, and durability on any weapon, including crystal infusions, don't matter unless it's a special weapon. So, anyway, Gwyn. That was fun. Thoughts on the weapon? I like it a lot more than I did going into this. I think this is a really fun weapon with a really versatile moveset. However, you have to get used to using the thrusting moveset for the vast majority of your attacks. And if you don't like thrusting movesets, that is very difficult to do. The R2 is fun when you can use it and does decent damage and is fun for groups, but I think it's very situational. The running attack and the R1 are both extremely useful in a lot of scenarios. The counter damage is obviously insane, because counter damage is always insane in Dark Souls 1. Very fun weapon. Is it better than all the spears? I don't know. I haven't used all the spears, but for the spears that I have used, it is absolutely the best one. Feeble cursed one. You think you can handle? Died 14 times to Gwyn. I mean, I've played this game a lot. This is like probably my 200th playthrough at this point. No, actually, I've definitely done at least 100 something playthroughs. Why am I standing on that stalagmite? Because it makes me look cool. A dramatic pose. Hold on. It's a dramatic pose. Yeah, shockingly fun weapon. I went into this expecting to not like the moveset, but to get through the game anyway, because, I mean, it does good damage. But I actually ended up liking the moveset quite a bit. I'm glad you like the stream. We have 43 concurrents right now, which is higher than my average. My average is like 20 something. And my average highest is like 30. So the fact that we were at 40, 50 for some of this stream is really cool. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. Feel free to join the Discord, link in the description if you would like. Yeah, if you want to give me money, you're also welcome to do that. I have a coffee link. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how to end this.